Part 23. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 221. Are you trying to choke me to death? Seeing Suliang's reaction, he turned to look beside him again. Qin Wanyu's smile was full of provocation, and Yang Kaoj was almost helpless. Why can you do it but not me? Recalling the previous fight between himself and the Queen Mother, Yang Kaoj felt that he was so angry that he felt itchy. The Queen Mother is too shameless. She and I are simply not on the same level. How can we fight? No, I can't go on like this. If I lose, and when Benjeo comes out of seclusion, I find that my man has been snatched away by others, how will I explain to her? Even if I sacrifice myself, I must protect the harmony of the family. Thinking in his mind, Yang Kaoj threw the things in his hands to the ground, turned around and walked away. And that night, Yang Kaoj upheld the spirit of sacrificing himself and did something that moved the world. When Suliang returned to the room, he saw at a glance Yefei, who was tied up and thrown on his bed with tears in his eyes, aggrieved and miserable, and Yang Kaoj sitting beside him. To be fair, Yefei is wearing a white military uniform and a short skirt wrapped in black silk. Whether it is the proud peak or the straight curves behind her, everything is highlighted, especially the artistic binding of Ying Chao Ji, which makes these even more highlight. Coupled with Yefei's miserable look with a pouted mouth, wrinkled nose, slightly red eyes, and teary eyes, it makes people want to pounce on her and bully her. What is it called? Yuji has no misfortune or Yuji sacrifices herself. But at this moment, Suliang had no such thoughts at all, and just looked confused. Suliang asked in confusion, "What's going on?" "As you can see," Yang Kaoj said with a cold and arrogant face. Hearing this, Suliang seemed to have thought of something. Suliang's face darkened. He ignored Yang Kaoj and walked straight to Yefei. He took off the stuff from Yefei's mouth and asked, "Say, what exactly is going on?" "Well," Yefei whimpered and said aggrievedly, "Your Highness saw that he was no match for the Queen Mother and could not stop the Queen Mother from attacking you, so, he planned to tie me up, and then. Halfway through the words, Yefei's face turned red, she was so embarrassed that she couldn't say any more. However, having said this, how could Suliang not think of Yefei's meaning? She was obviously kidnapped by Yang Kaoj to fulfill what she said a few days ago and wanted her to relieve her loneliness. Volume 1 Chapter 205 The Leng Ao Empress becomes submissive. Looking at Yefei's appearance, it was obvious that she was unwilling and forced. Of course, even if she wanted to, Suliang couldn't do anything. In an instant, Suliang became angry. Suliang walked up to Yang Kaoj with a sullen face. Suliang looked at Yang Kaoj calmly without saying a word. But hidden behind this calm was a violent storm. Yang Kaoj noticed something was wrong, and subconsciously took a step back, asking, "You, what do you want to do?" The words just fell. She felt the world spinning. It turned out that it was Suliang who picked up Yang Kaoj and threw him on the bed. Immediately, before Yang Kaoj could come to his senses, Suliang rushed forward, pressed Yang Kaoj under him, and struck decisively, hitting the stiff spot behind Yang Kaoj with a crackling sound. Snapped. Ah! There was an extremely clear sound, and Yang Kaoj screamed, and Suliang immediately scolded, "Let I tie others to me to relieve loneliness, let's see if you still dare." "Suliang, let me go." Yang Kaoj struggled hard and waved his limbs wildly, but he couldn't break free from Suliang's restraints. Suliang didn't care so much, so he slapped him again. "Pa! I asked you to supervise me. Do you have nothing to do all day? You always stay here with me." "Suliang." Yang Kaoj was stunned by Suliang's series of actions. He felt ashamed, angry, and angry at the same time. His face turned red and his eyes flashed with fluorescent light. "Suliang, you, How dare you insult me like this? I am ice cold. Yao's sister is the eldest princess. The one I'm beating is you, the eldest princess, Benjao's sister. Suliang threw Yingqiao aside and scolded angrily, Yingqiao, you underestimate me too much. Do I look like that kind of person? Do you think that a mere queen mother can really make me so fascinated that I don't care about anything? Humph, you also said that you know Benjao. If I were such a person, would Benjao really like me? Day by day, I don't know what I'm thinking. It's just nonsense. Yingqiao was stunned by Suliang's scolding. For a moment, he couldn't say anything. Recalling every detail of these days, Yingqiao was surprised to find that he seemed to be overthinking. Qin Wanyu had indeed been trying every means to seduce Suliang, and used all kinds of tricks on Suliang. She had all kinds of vixen tricks at her fingertips, as if she had no shame. If it had been anyone else, with Qin Wanyu so stunning and still the queen mother, she would have been unable to bear it long ago. But what about Suliang? Yingqiao was always angry before and didn't pay close attention, but now that he thought about it, Suliang was clearly able to control it, and there was no sign of his heartbeat because of Qin Wanyu's performance. Even though he later got used to Qin Wanyu's various overtures and no longer resisted too much, Suliang still kept a clear mind and showed no signs of being moved. So, I must have wrongly blamed him. I'm not like this. Yingqiao huddled in the corner, different from her usual cold, arrogant and dignified appearance. At this moment, she showed a rare well-behaved look. She didn't even dare to say a word, she was only obedient, and she was not very confident in her defense. This scene immediately stunned Ye. I'm shocked, His Highness still looks like this? Where has the usually cold, arrogant, and majestic Highness gone? I am afraid he is not dreaming? Suliang. So strong. On the other side, looking at Suliang, who had a cold face until now, Yingqiao suddenly blushed for some reason, feeling a little nervous. Even the way he looked at Suliang was evasive, as if he wanted to take another look but was too shy to look. As the eldest princess of Great Xia, Yingqiao had been in a high position since she was a child. No matter who they saw, they were extremely respectful and wanted to offer her up directly. Even the late emperor was reluctant to even scold her. Ever since he was a child, Yingqiao has never been bullied like this. This gave her an indescribable feeling. Feeling the numbness and soreness behind him, occasionally mixed with burning pain, at this moment, Yingqiao was disturbed. Occasionally, his eyes flickered when he looked at Suliang, and he couldn't help biting his lower lip. Even she herself was no longer sure of her own thoughts. World-famous painting fairy girlfriend is practicing. The second piece of the world-famous painting, sister is breaking through. Plus master and Yingqiao in front of me. This phenomenon of multiple Cao thieves is probably a beautiful thing. Just when the celebration to worship ancestors was over, Qin Benjao was in retreat, and Suliang was dealing with Yingqiao and Qin Wanyu at home. In Shengjing City, a genius who has become famous has recently appeared. This prodigy achieved such a great reputation in just a few days. First, he made breakthroughs in cultivation and advanced to several realms. Then, he challenged many long-established masters and defeated them easily. In this way, Tianjiao becomes famous all over the world. However, no one could have guessed that this so-called new genius was actually the incarnation of the Taoist disciple of Fukang Dao sect, Mo Yishan. And this so-called rise in fame was deliberately created by Mo Tongxian, just to make himself famous. After all, unlike his master, this time, he planned to use his hard power to convince Yingqiao. Even though the Mir dynasty had a vast territory, was extremely wealthy, and had countless strange people and masters, it could not compare to him, the Taoist disciple of the Shangzong. As long as you show your strength, isn't it easy to capture a Mir dynasty princess? Then, After becoming famous, Mo Bianxian used his strength and fame to take the initiative to join the army directly under Ying Keoj. After finding out that Ying Keoj's nearest residence turned out to be a pretty good mansion outside the palace, Mo Bianxian went directly to that mansion without hesitation. "You all get out of the way, I want to see Ying Keoj." Mo Tianxian came to the door of the mansion and looked at the two guards of Ying Keoj who were guarding the door. They had their hands behind their backs and said arrogantly. It's not that he was showing off in front of these two guards. After all, as a Taoist disciple of Fukang Dao sect, Mo Bianxian was very arrogant to begin with. He didn't even look down on the entire Great Xia dynasty, let alone two mere ones. The eldest princess escorted. For his own behavior, don't hesitate to call it asking to see Ying Keoj. However, how could anyone be so arrogant when asking for an audience? Of course, the two guards did not let him go. Instead, they snorted and said, "Humph, a soldier wants to see His Highness. Are you worthy? Furthermore, as a subordinate of His Highness, you have such an arrogant temperament that you dare to call His Highness by his first name. Even if you are the most famous genius recently, we cannot tolerate you. I wanted to talk to you properly, but what I got in exchange was alienation." Mo Tongxian said calmly, "Since you won't get out of the way, don't blame me. Say it." Volume 1 Chapter 206 The fairy taught me the velvet ball method, and the Queen Mother graced the wall with a bang. Mo Tongxian waved his hand casually, and extremely tyrannical power surged out. Immediately, he knocked the two guards away and knocked open the door of the mansion, vomiting blood. "You, how dare you break into the princess's mansion and try to meet His Highness?" The first guard still refused to give up, covering his chest, pointing at Mo Dangxian and angrily yelling, but he didn't even have the strength to stand up and stop him. "Good at it? It's a joke. How can I say it's trespassing when I see her?" Mo Tran shook his head, ignored the two guards, and walked in. The internal structure of the mansion was not complicated and the road was smooth. Mo Dangxian quickly found the whereabouts of Ying Keoj. However, at first glance, I witnessed the close contact between Ying Keoj and Sul Yang. I saw Sul Yang was also sitting in the yard, studying the exercises, but this time, it was Ying Keoj who was sitting next to Sul Yang. However, different from Qin Wanyu, although Ying Keoj had a low stool under him at the moment, he was lying on the armrest of the recliner. Almost half of his body was pressed against Sul Yang, and his pretty face was close to Sul Yang's face. Watching the skills in Sul Yang's hands. From Sul Yang's perspective, Ying Keoj's pair of proud peaks pressed tightly against his body, almost changing their shape thanks to their amazing softness and elasticity. After all, it's not a top-secret skill, it's just an ordinary swordsmanship. Ying Keoj can naturally watch it. Therefore, if he encounters something he doesn't understand, Ying Keoj will ask questions quietly, and Sul Yang won't hesitate to answer. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 222. After understanding, Ying Keoj looked suddenly enlightened and chuckled twice. For a moment, the two of them seemed very harmonious and intimate. However, for Mo Tongxian, this is no longer the case. The reason why he came to Ying Keoj and wanted to impress Ying Keoj was naturally because his fiancée in Shengjing was Ying Keoj. But why is it Sul Yang again? Even though she is his fiancée, in Mo Tongxian's opinion, she is still his own, and his own is with his enemy. In an instant, Mo Tianxian only felt that his head was green. "Sul Yang, you just robbed my master, but you actually dared to rob my fiancée. Do you really think I dare not kill you? I won't wait any longer and I'm incompatible with you. I will tear you into pieces." His eyes were red, he was breathing heavily, and his body was trembling. At this moment, Mo Tianzi fell into an unprecedented rage. At this moment, Mo Bianxian was extremely furious. Seeing Suliang and Ying Keoj who were so intimate, he almost wanted to take action and killed Suliang directly, finishing the whole thing. However, before Ya could do anything, Ying Keoj noticed him and turned to look at Mo Dangxian, frowning slightly. "Are you from my subordinates? How did you get in? Didn't the guard tell you not to take it easy? Are you here to disturb me?" Hearing this, Mo Yishan sneered, "How can those two losers stop me? He, why, you and this bastard Suliang are having a tryst here, can't you let me see it? Very good, you fiancé, very good. So, you broke in without permission." Mo Tingxian's words made Ying Keoj's face darken a little, and he directly questioned, "Who made you good at it?" "Win Keoj, haha." Mo Biangxia chuckled twice and put his hands behind his back, looking domineering and proud, as if he didn't care about anything. "Introduce yourself. Have you heard of the unparalleled genius who has become famous in Shengjing recently?" "That's me." "Unparalleled genius? So what? Do you really think that I, Daxia, will be afraid of you, a peerless talent?" Ying Keoj ignored Mo Biangxian's words, waved his hand and said, "Come here, get him out of here. Also, let him get out of my subordinates immediately. He dares to disobey my orders and injure his colleagues. I don't need such lawless people under my subordinates." "Yes." As soon as the words fell, Yefei appeared immediately, followed by a group of extremely capable soldiers, all the weapons in their hands pointed at Mo Dangxian. Although Mo Tingxian was extremely confident in his own strength, at this moment, he also knew that this was not something he could match at all. Then, Mo Tongxian had no choice but to give up his thoughts of resistance and was escorted by Yefei and his men and thrown out of the mansion. Outside the mansion, suddenly feeling greatly depressed, Mo Tongxian had never been treated like this before. He stood outside the mansion, looking at the closed door of the mansion, gritting his teeth and secretly hating it in his heart. "Good, good, really good. Ying Keoj, as my fiancé, how dare you treat me like this, yet be so close to that despicable Suliang? Ha, it seems it's time for me to remind you. Have you forgotten whose fiancé you are?" Time passed, and a few days after following Zalong's baptism, Qin Binjao returned from seclusion smoothly. Arriving at the door of the house, Qin Binjao jumped in, and then quietly walked into the room, and immediately saw her boyfriend sitting at the table. With a smile, Qin Binjao quietly moved forward again. Soon, she touched her boyfriend's back and suddenly stretched out her hand. She covered her boyfriend's eyes with her slender hands, planning to give her boyfriend a surprise. She shouted happily, "Sulang Sulang, guess who I am?" Suliang was stunned for a moment, with a smile on his face. Then he touched his chin, pretending to think, and suddenly said in surprise, "Is it sister here?" In fact, how could he not recognize his girlfriend? He did this deliberately, just joking with his girlfriend. "No, no." Qin Binjao pouted and said dissatisfied, "Guess again and again." "That's master." Suliang guessed again. "It's even worse." Qin Binjao became even more dissatisfied. She stamped her little feet and snorted, "Huh, if you guess wrong again, I'll ignore you." "Ha ha." Suliang laughed happily, turned around and hugged his girlfriend. "How could I not recognize my wife?" "Hey hey." Qin Binjao immediately laughed happily, hugged her boyfriend, took a deep breath, and said happily, "I'm finally back, Sulang, I miss you so much." Before Suliang could answer, a beautiful figure suddenly walked in outside the door. When he saw Qin Binjao, he was quite surprised and said, "Binjao, are you out of seclusion so soon? This beautiful shadow is Ying Chao Ji." Hearing Ying Keoj's voice, Qin Binjao let go of her boyfriend, turned around and threw herself into her sister's arms. She smiled and said, Sister Ying must have been taking care of Sulang during the few days I was away. Thank you, Sister Ying, take care of. Everywhere we are a family, as we should be. Ying Kao shook his head and looked away from Qin Binjao. His pretty face was slightly red and he felt a little shy. Regarding Qin Binjao, she actually felt a little guilty. After all, that night, my heartbeat was not fake. The man who promised to take care of her sister was guarding the Queen Mother all day long, but she herself was attracted by her sister's man. What's going on? The three chatted for a while, and Ying Kao said, Binjao must have gained a lot since she returned from seclusion. Tonight, we will celebrate for Binjao. I'm going to prepare now. However, at night, Qin Wanyu, who didn't know where she got the news, also rushed over. Qin Binjao and Ying Kao sat on either side of Suliang, one on the left and the other on the right, not giving Qin Wanyu a chance to get close to Suliang. But even though he could only sit opposite Suliang, Qin Wanyu still smiled coquettishly and said, Congratulations to Binjao for successfully getting out of seclusion. Haha, Binjao has been away for the past few days. You don't know that Suliang is I miss you and feel lonely every day, so I come to keep him company every day to give him some relief. After hearing this, Qin Binjao drank wine with a calm look, but Ying Kao said with an unchanging expression, before Binjao went into seclusion, she entrusted me to take care of Suliang. Now that I am here, how can Suliang do it? It will be lonely and lonely. It would be best if the queen doesn't come. If she comes too often, it will be trouble. Qin Binjao on the side seemed unable to hear the verbal exchange between the two, and just smiled and said, Thank you Queen Mother, Sister Ying, for taking care of my Sulang. There are 3 women in a play. Among the 3, even Qin Binjao, who looks the most innocent and lovely, is not an ordinary person. Therefore, tonight's play is particularly lively. While the 4 of them were celebrating, Yefei watched silently from a distance, trembling slightly as she watched the people on the stage with their own thoughts and sharp words, but still smiling and drinking calmly. This posture is a bit scary. After the dinner party was over, Suliang and Qin Binjao returned to the room. As soon as they closed the door, Qin Binjao threw herself into Suliang's arms, rubbing her little head in Suliang's arms, hugging her extra hard, as if she wanted to rub herself into Suliang's arms. Suliang Lang, I haven't seen you for a few days, I miss you so much. But just in the middle of speaking, before she finished expressing her longing, Qin Binjao suddenly raised her head, her little nose wrinkled slightly, warning, warning, I smell the scent of another woman from my husband. Hearing this, Suliang patted Qin Binjao's head speechlessly and said, Your cousin has moved in. I smell like someone else. Isn't that normal? I'm just telling you, why didn't Sister Ying leave at night? Qin Binjao nodded, looking like she suddenly realized something. But then, Suliang frowned slightly and took the initiative to confess, however, something has been wrong with the Queen Mother recently. When you are not around, she comes here every day, but she is extremely close to me. Lian Ying Chao Ji, can't stop her. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Qin Binjao thinking seriously. Under Suliang's gaze, Qin Binjao thought for a moment and said seriously, It's obvious that the Queen Mother has taken a liking to you. Oh, Sulang, you have to have some confidence. Sulang, you are very popular. Hearing this, Suliang blinked in confusion and looked at his girlfriend. How on earth do you say it without any expression that other women are interested in your man? Do you really feel nothing at all? Suliang didn't doubt his girlfriend's feelings for him, he just felt that his girlfriend's thoughts were a bit dangerous. Moreover, is the Queen Mother really what her girlfriend said? I always feel it's not that simple. Shaking his head, Suliang said seriously, Binjao, I'm talking seriously, I'm not joking with you. I'm not joking with Sulang either. Qin Benjio tilted her head and looked at her boyfriend. Suddenly, a dangerous smile appeared on her beautiful and pure face. Why don't you, Sulang, just go on and conquer her? This way, Sulang, how about you turn the Queen Mother into a velvet ball? She said very dangerous words, but Qin Benjio put on a serious face, which really made Suliang confused as to what his girlfriend was thinking. At this moment, Suliang's whole body was numb. No matter from which angle he looked at it, he could seriously say that he asked his boyfriend to attack other women and turn them into velvet balls. His girlfriend seemed to be completely "Have you fallen? This is how to do a..." But at this moment, Qin Benjio's face suddenly changed and became serious. I encourage my men, but I still have to teach my men a lesson. This is to prevent Suliang from being unreasonable in the future and anyone will take it home. Humph, even though I allowed Suliang to attack other women, I had to know about it and agree to it. Master's mistake must never happen again. Then, Qin Benjio grabbed Suliang's hand, pulled Suliang quickly to the bed, pushed Suliang down on the bed, and then said, "Suliang, don't you want to see the results of his cultivation this time?" At this point, Qin Benjio's aura was released without reservation, and the powerful aura belonging to the peak of dragon transformation instantly filled the entire room. However, Qin Benjio subconsciously stuck out her tongue and licked her red lips, with a dangerous smile on her face. I have reached the peak of the dragon transformation realm. I thought about it, but... Looking at his girlfriend with a blushing face and a charming smile, who was pure and a little charming, Suliang swallowed subconsciously and responded. But what Suliang couldn't figure out was why he should push himself down to show the results of his cultivation. Hey, Benjio, aren't you thinking about anything exciting? Look, Suliang, this is my transformation. Seeing that Suliang agreed, Qin Benjio's smile faded, her hands on her hips, and a faint sound of dragon roar emanated from her body. Immediately afterwards, a ray of light with the pressure of a true dragon flashed through. When the light dissipated, Qin Benjio's whole person changed. I saw. The original white palace skirt on Qin Benjio's body has disappeared, replaced by a real dragon armor. The armor is completely golden, with dragon scale patterns appearing on it. It seems that the shadow of the real dragon can be seen vaguely, lingering around it. Above, extremely domineering. Wearing the real dragon armor, Qin Benjio's body is exuding the vast and majestic pressure of the real dragon all the time, with little golden lights flashing. Even Qin Benjio's silver hair has turned into blonde hair, looking extremely powerful. At this moment, Qin Benjio was standing there, wearing this real dragon armor, with a pretty face, giving her a feeling of being superior and looking down on all living beings. Exuding a mighty and domineering temperament that was completely different from her usual coldness, cuteness, and innocence, Qin Benjio raised her slender legs and stepped on Suliang with her small jade feet, putting on a cold, arrogant, and disgusting face. Tisk, yes. You are not satisfied with me, but you still dare to hook up with others, Suliang. It seems that it is time for me to give you some unforgettable punishment. Although Qin Benjio calls herself the princess, she is clearly a real queen at this moment. Hello. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 223. Suliang couldn't help but swallow, and almost couldn't help but gasp. It's over, are you going to be punished by the queen? This is really cool. No, it's scary. I have to say that my girlfriend, who is wearing a real dragon armor and is so powerful and domineering, is really sexy. In the bedroom, Qin Wanyu's plump and delicate body is covered with a purple tulle. Under the tulle, she can see her overly proud and delicate body, flat belly, roundness at the back, and a pair of plump long legs. All outlines are revealed. Even through the lavender tool lines, the secrets hidden within can be clearly seen. And all of this is blocked by the silk coat outside the tool, making it difficult for people to get results even if they want to explore. But this mysterious and wonderful feeling, half hidden and half visible, makes Qin Wanyu look even more charming and extremely astringent. At this moment, Qin Wanyu was choosing today's palace dress among her many clothes. During this period of time, she was obsessed with getting along with Sul Yang, and Qin Wanyu seemed to have undergone some subtle changes. But at this moment, Zi Nu, the person in charge of Ting Yuxian, suddenly walked out of the darkness, came behind Qin Wanyu, knelt down on one knee, and questioned, "My lord, these days, you and Sul Yang have been getting along every day. Is this right? Are you putting the cart before the horse? Our target is still far out of sight. Lord, have you forgotten that?" Faced with the doubts from her subordinates, Qin Wanyu didn't care at all, and explained openly, "In the past few days, I have been getting along with Sul Yang. I have long discovered that this young man is very unusual. He must not make enemies or even kill him of. So, it's time for our strategy to change. From today on, I will try to capture him and make him useful to us. For this, even if it means sacrificing myself, I won't hesitate. Everything is for our final goal. Therefore, people should attack boldly." After packing up and taking care of everything, Qin Wanyu sent someone to invite Qin Benjiao and Sul Yang to the palace as guests. Of course, the reason on the surface is true, but privately, Qin Wanyu just wants to steal it. Just above board, stealing food next to Qin Benjiao. Then, after Sul Yang and Qin Benjiao arrived at the palace, Qin Wanyu thought of a reason and called Sul Yang to an unoccupied room. Immediately afterwards, Qin Wanyu jumped directly into Sul Yang's arms and tried all kinds of tricks to tease Sul Yang. Blocking Sul Yang against the wall, Qin Wanyu clung to Sul Yang with a charming smile on her face. She pinched Sul Yang's chin with one hand and raised it slightly, and stroked Sul Yang's chest with the other hand. All the way down. This kind of untouched feeling can make people feel numb all over. Coupled with this ding-dong feeling, Qin Wanyu is confident that no one can resist her. Volume 1 Chapter 207, Days I was cheated on again, are you dating my fiancé? Indeed, except for Sul Yang, there are indeed few people who can bear it. With her pretty face close to Sul Yang, Qin Wanyu exhaled like orchid, warm and moist breath in Sul Yang's ears. While teasing Sul Yang, she whispered, "Don't move. It's very far away from where Benjiao is. If you make any movement nearby, Benjiao might discover you. With the way we are now, you don't want to be discovered by Benjiao, right?" However, Qin Wanyu didn't expect that Sul Yang would directly attack Qin Wanyu. With a little force of his body, he knocked Qin Wanyu away. Immediately. Before Qin Wanyu could react, Sul Yang took action directly and the situation was reversed. "My girlfriend doesn't care, but encourages me to take you down, so what should I be afraid of?" "Humph, you actually want to threaten me with my girlfriend? I think you are overthinking, my fearless number." Boom. With a muffled sound all over his body, Sul Yang directly blocked Qin Wanyu against the wall. Instead, he gave Qin Wanyu a wall dong. Then, he took advantage. He pinched Qin Wanyu's smooth chin with one hand and held Qin Wanyu's smooth chin with the other hand. Down. Of course, Sul Yang did not touch Qin Wanyu, but that hand was very close to Qin Wanyu's body, which inevitably caused Qin Wanyu's body to feel a numbness that almost made her tremble. At this moment, all the tricks Qin Wanyu used on Sul Yang were returned by Sul Yang. Not only that, Sul Yang approached Qin Wanyu's ear, with a dangerous smile on his face, and threatened, "Should I say you know nothing, or are you fearless? You provoke me like this again and again. Aren't you afraid that I can't help it and eat you on the spot? Oh, you may think that I would never do this, but I am a normal man. Moreover, I am a man with a girlfriend. If he has eaten meat, he will naturally find it difficult to resist the taste, right? You. Qin Wanyu suddenly became panicked. Feeling the strong power of Suliang's hands and the breath on her body, Qin Wanyu's body couldn't stop trembling. Her pretty face was slightly pale, her eyes were averted, and she didn't dare to look directly at Suliang. She said a complete sentence. Can't even tell. To be honest, although she did want to conquer Suliang, she really hadn't thought about that kind of thing. After all, this was her first time. Even as the Queen Mother, she had the charm of illusion. The previous Emperor of Great Xia had never even touched her hands or touched a corner of her clothes. She didn't have this at all. Kind of experience. Could it be that Suliang really wanted to? Alas! Her body trembled violently. The Queen Mother, who was still a virgin in every sense of the word, was finally frightened away and pushed Suliang away hard. I'm going back. Seeing Qin Wanyu running away in a hurry, Suliang snorted with disdain. That's it. The dignified Queen Mother is nothing more than that. And at the same time, Qin Benjao, who was next to the two of them, had been quietly watching from the beginning, seeing everything that happened between the two. Don't know why. Watching the Queen Mother taking advantage of her boyfriend, and then her boyfriend bullying the Queen Mother, she actually felt a little excited. In the next room, seeing Qin Wanyu escaping in a hurry, Suliang finally breathed a sigh of relief. To be honest, although I do feel that the Queen Mother is nothing more than this, but Your Majesty, the Queen Mother, is a little too flirtatious. This is too hard to bear. Moreover, his girlfriend was next door and must have seen all this. No matter what Qin Benjao did, Suliang always felt a little awkward. And this time, squeak. With a soft sound, the door was pushed open, and Qin Benjao walked into the room with a serious face and came to Suliang. Seeing his girlfriend showing such a rare serious expression towards him, Suliang began to feel nervous. What's going on? My girlfriend saw the intimacy between herself and the Queen Mother, and felt uncomfortable. Did she finally realize the problem? So, is my girlfriend jealous? Very good. Being jealous is good, being jealous is a good thing, it proves that you can still be saved, and your current girlfriend is also very good, but it is too uncomfortable to let your man attack other women every now and then, so it is better to return to normal. But the next second, before Suliang's fantasy could end, Qin Benjao hugged Suliang's arm, sandwiched Suliang's arm between her proud and growing peaks, and rubbed it back and forth, pouting, looking charming and naive. He looked like, well, it's true, people still have high hopes for Suliang, but why didn't Suliang achieve it at all? Hearing this, Suliang was completely stunned. What did you say? Oops. Qin Benjao shook her head and started to correct her. Suliang, your previous movements were too restrained. It was obviously a waldong. How could you not stick to her tightly? Your hands even brushed her body, and you pressed her directly to rub her. Wouldn't it be better to pinch? Besides, your chin is raised, and your face is so close, but you directly kiss me. What are you talking about? It really makes people anxious, okay? Suliang, your performance today is completely unsatisfactory. You need to be bolder. Hearing this, Suliang was speechless. Is it okay for my girlfriend to teach me how to pick up girls? To be honest, based on his previous experience in simulating life, Suliang felt that if he really took the initiative, the Queen Mother would have to sacrifice herself on the spot. Little girl, what's the matter with you? Don't you think you have a grassland in your head? The grass on the grassland is already rich enough, so why don't you stop fertilizing yourself? Rubbing his forehead, Suliang felt that his head was extremely big. Well, Sighing, Suliang held his girlfriend's shoulders, looked seriously into his girlfriend's eyes, and said sincerely, Benjeo, I really hope you won't wrong yourself too much. I'm not that carefree, having you is the greatest luck in this life, you don't have to humiliate yourself and match us up just because you think I like them. However, facing Suliang's sincere words, Qin Benjeo had a cute look on her face, widened her beautiful eyes, looked at her man, tilted her head and said, No way, Suliang, you are overthinking, I very happy. How can I be happy by helping my man to conquer other women and watching my man kiss me and other women? What kind of weird fetish has my girlfriend awakened to? It's over, it's all over. Judging from my girlfriend's symptoms, she is already severe or late stage. It's hopeless. At this moment, Suliang's whole body was numb. Ever since he witnessed the intimacy between Suliang and Ying Keoj and was kicked out, Mo Bianxian started planning. After several days of planning, Mo Bianxian came to Qin Benjeo and Suliang's mansion, bypassed the two guards at the door, broke in, and went straight to Ying Keoj. Why is it you again? Ying Keoj still had some impression of Mo Bianxian. The moment he saw Mo Bianxian, he immediately frowned slightly, feeling a little unhappy. But this time, Mo Bianxian was still very arrogant, with his head held high, hands behind his back, and said with an eye-opening look, Ying Keoj, do you know who I am? Who are you? Ying Keoj pondered what Mo Bianxian said, but said directly, no matter who you are, I have already said that my subordinates do not need such a lawless person like you, and I have already driven you away once before, if you don't leave now, I will call for you again. Oh, you'd better take back what you said, otherwise, I will make you regret it. Mo Bianxian smiled disdainfully, turned sideways and looked at the sky, looking like a lonely master waiting for people to pay homage to him. Listen up, I am Mo Bianxian, Taoist master of Fukang Dao sect, and I grew up with you. The fiancé who made the engagement. No more pretending, I'm showing off my cards. I wanted to get along with you as a proud man, but what I got in exchange was Ching Ching Prairie. It's a showdown. I am Shangzong Daozai, someone you will never be able to reach in your life. Oh, woman, celebrate, your fiancé is destined to be the future king of heaven and earth. Oh. Ying Keoj was stunned for a moment, but then he looked nonchalant and said, how are you doing? Oh, Ying Keoj, let me remind you that I am the Taoist disciple of Shangzong, but you are just a princess of the dynasty. It is your blessing that I can like you. You'd better listen to me and obey me in everything. Otherwise, I will never lack you by my side. However, my villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 224. Listening to Mo Bianxian's words, Ying Keoj was a little confused. Shangzong Daozai, that's it? Where did his crazy self-confidence come from? Who made him so arrogant? Standing up, Ying Keoj waved his sleeves and refused without thinking, you don't have to worry about it. I won't touch you. Just go back to where you came from. While talking, Ying Keoj looked arrogant, her eyes were full of indifference, and she was majestic. That kind of unparalleled arrogance lingered around her, making her look even more powerful and domineering. She was really a peerless beauty. Who do you think you are? I make the decision on my own marriage. Don't say you are just a disciple of the Shangzong, even if you are the master of the Shangzong, I dare to say that. Roll. After saying these words, Mo Tianxian's face became even more gloomy. At this moment, he only felt that his face was burning with pain. Ying Keoj was just a dynasty princess, and she couldn't just hold it in her hands at will. Mo Tianxian never expected that she would be slapped in the face by Ying Keoj. Did you know that you turned down a great opportunity? Mo Tongxian suddenly sneered and said confidently, you should think it over carefully before making a decision. You will never find a better candidate than me in the whole world. Hearing this, Yingkeoch was completely speechless. What kind of way is this? You are a little too confident. Who told you that there is no better person than you in the world? Are you out of your mind? Shaking his head helplessly, Yingkeoch said, if I deny you, seeing that you are like this, I will definitely not want to admit it. Anyway, I just have time now, so I will let you prove it to you. In this world, but there are better beings than you. You come with me. Say it. Then he walked into Suliang's room, came to Suliang, and said calmly, Suliang, can you do me a favor? Suliang nodded in confusion and asked, what? Think about it carefully. Until now, I have been living in the palace for a long time and rarely have contact with others, let alone dating. If I have someone I like in the future, wouldn't it be dereliction of duty to behave like this? So, I want you to help me and teach me how to go out on a date. After hearing this, Suliang's head was filled with questions. If Yingkeoch hadn't been the protagonist, Suliang would have doubted whether this girl was plotting against him. It's not that Suliang is overconfident, it's actually about teaching people about dating. If the intimacy hadn't reached a certain level, no one would be willing to have this kind of development with the opposite sex, even if they were familiar with each other, right? At this time, as if he was afraid of Suliang's rejection, Yingkeoch added, don't misunderstand me. I really don't understand, so I want your help. You and Benjeo have dated so many times. I want to come. He must be very experienced, right? Is this an experienced thing? Suliang was very helpless, but seeing that Yingkeoch said it sincerely, he agreed, okay. Sheng Jingzhong. Suliang and Yingkeoch walked side by side on the road. It seemed that they were very close to each other, but in fact, there was no intimacy at all. See this. Suliang stretched out his hand and quietly took Yingkeoch's tender hand hanging by his side. But then... ah! Yingkeoch screamed in surprise, and with a flip of his hand, Suliang was knocked away with a slap. What are you doing? Suliang stood up in embarrassment and looked at Yingkeoch in confusion. I taught you about dating with good intentions, but you slapped me? Bullying honest people, right? Why do you think so little of me? Yingkeoch stammered with his hands behind his back, his eyes a little evasive, and a shy blush on his face. This is a date. Suliang said very speechlessly, of course a date requires intimate contact. Holding hands, hugging, and physical contact are normal. Why do you have such a big reaction? Yes, is that so? Ying blinked at the fans in confusion, seeming to realize that he had made a joke, and became even more shy. I know, yes, I was wrong. You. Suliang stood up, glanced at Yingkeoch helplessly, walked up to Yingkeoch, took Yingkeoch's hand. You see, this is called holding hands. Immediately. As if he wanted to teach Yingkeoch the correct posture for a date, Suliang pulled Yingkeoch to a street vendor, letting Yingkeoch in front, and hugged Yingkeoch from behind. This is normal. Physical contact. I know. Yingkeoch's body froze and he was speechless, as if he was very shy because he had never had such close contact with the opposite sex. Ignoring Yingkeoch, Suliang said to the stall owner, Boss, please have 2 portions of your food. After waiting for a moment, Suliang took the food from the boss's hand, pulled Yingkeoch on to continue walking on the road, and handed over a portion. Here, how does it taste? Oh. Yingkeoch nodded, took the food, but took out the money with his backhand, and handed it to Suliang with a serious and cute look on his face. Here, you bought me food, I will give it to you if you have a lot of money, I will treat it as a reward for you. This routine was exactly the same as when he faced his subordinates in the palace, and Suliang couldn't handle it. Volume 1 Chapter 208 The Empress witnessed behind the scenes being together with her cousin Man. Your Highness Princess, do you think you are still in the palace? Suliang said helplessly, when you are on a date, it is normal to buy some delicious food to share with each other. It doesn't matter who spends the money, the most important thing is the intention. The money you gave is outrageous enough, why? Is there any reward left? Yes, is that so? Yang Kaoj blinked and realized that he had made another joke. His beautiful cheeks turned red again. He was so shy that he didn't dare to look at Suliang. Seeing such a cute and shy Yang Kaoj, Suliang felt a little strange. This was completely different from her usual elegant and majestic posture. It's quite cute. Could it be that this is contrasting cuteness? After Yang Kaoj took the money back, Suliang took Yang Kaoj and continued to wander aimlessly in the city, going on dates. Being reasonable and teaching a princess who is usually elegant and majestic to date is a great sense of accomplishment for Suliang. During the date, Suliang taught Yang Kaoj step by step what the correct posture for a date was, holding hands, hugging, and all kinds of physical contact. However, Yang Kaoj was shy, silly, and contrastingly cute. For her, everything was the first time and everything was a novel experience. Therefore, she made a lot of jokes, which made Yang Kaoj extremely shy, but Suliang was very happy. This point makes Suliang feel that Yang Kaoj and his girlfriend are worthy of being sisters. There are really many similarities. And even Suliang didn't expect that after he agreed to teach Yang Kaoj how to date, he would discover such a cute and adorable side of the princess. All I can say is that it was a worthwhile trip. And while the two were dating together, Mo Tingyi hid aside and witnessed all this with his own eyes. Seeing his enemy and his fiancée showing off their affection and making countless intimate gestures under his nose, Yang Kaoj also revealed a side that no one usually sees, and he was extremely beautiful. At this moment, Mo Bianxian was absolutely blown away. Master, you took it away. I have no way to convince Master for the time being. I can only wait a year and kill you to prove myself. But you actually want to take away my fiancé? Suliang, you deserve to die, you have no heart. Thinking in his mind, Mo Bianxian clenched his teeth, clenched his fists, and his body couldn't stop making noises. His anger was rising, making Mo Bianxian's face turn purple. At this moment, he was completely angry. Completely angry. In his heart, even if Suliang was cut into pieces, even if he was killed 100 times, he would not be able to avoid the anger in his heart. However, at this moment, he couldn't take action. Even though he had bad thoughts about his master, he was still afraid of his orders. Since the master has made a 1-year appointment, he cannot show up now, otherwise, if the master knows about it, the master will hate him even more. However, Suliang had to die. Even if the master wanted to protect him, even if he couldn't come forward in person, he would still have to be cut into pieces. No matter what, since he can't take action personally, he should adopt a roundabout strategy. He is just a monk in the dragon transformation realm. In such a large dynasty, there will always be people who can deal with him. In the palace, the second prince's bedroom. Mo Tongxian quietly appeared in front of the second prince and asked straight to the point, "Do you want to be the monarch of Daxia? Who are you?" The second prince frowned, confused. Now, Yang Kaoj is strong and has won the hearts of the people. On your own, you are definitely no match for her, but if I help you, the result will be different. Mo Dongxian did not answer the second prince, but said to himself, "You must think clearly, this is your only chance to ascend the throne." Suppressing Yang Kaoj and supporting the prince who is close to him to ascend to power, Mo Bianxian intends to single-handedly change the situation. For the top Taoist sects, it is easy to control the change of a dynasty. Looking at the hesitant second prince, Mo Bianxian's eyes gradually became dangerous. He wants to teach Yang Kaoj an unforgettable lesson. "Oh, since you dare to refuse, dare to scold me, dare to say that you make the decision on your own marriage, and are so arrogant, then I will trample on your dignity and arrogance and make you realize your own mistakes. The next day, Yang Kaoj came outside Sul Yang's room and planned to thank Sul Yang. The date that day, in any case, Sul Yang was busy, and Yang Kaoj also felt that he had learned a lot. So, yes, I just came to Sul Yang to express my gratitude, not for any other purpose. But before she opened the door, she heard a somewhat familiar voice in the room. Subconsciously, Yang Kaoj put his face close to the gap in the door, and then he discovered an incredible secret. In the room, Sul Yang was sitting on a chair, and Qin Wanyu stood in front of Sul Yang. The two looked at each other in silence. This time, Qin Wanyu came here to recover the situation. After all, in the palace before, I was scared away by Sul Yang. This is very embarrassing, isn't it? Anyway, we were so close to Sul Yang last time, so I should have gotten used to it, right? Therefore, this time, I will never lose. But Qin Wanyu didn't expect that. After waiting for a moment, Sul Yang threw the book in his hand on the table, leaned back on the chair, narrowed his eyes slightly, and said indifferently, "Now that you are here, give it to me, let me beat my legs." "Want me to beat your legs? Who do you think you are?" Baiki bit her lower lip lightly, and Qin Wanyu wanted to get closer, using this as an excuse to tease Sul Yang again, making Sul Yang embarrassed. However, it seemed that Qin Wanyu had been silent for a long time. At this time, Sul Yang suddenly opened his eyes and looked over. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 225. Moment. Qin Wanyu looked at Sul Yang's calm and emotionless eyes, and felt that the extremely domineering pressure on Sul Yang, who looked down on the world and had my invincible acquaintance, slowly seeped out and pressed towards her. "Come over." At this moment, in Sul Yang, Qin Wanyu seemed to see the figure of the overlord who was almost the best in the world. Yes. Qin Benjao immediately became obedient, bent down on her knees, squatted in front of Sul Yang, and began to serve. "I am here to serve the young master." "Say it." A charming smile appeared on Qin Wanyu's face, with a soft look. A pair of proud peaks pressed directly onto Sul Yang's thighs. At the same time, her slender hands lifted up and kneaded Sul Yang's legs. "Make full use of your own advantages." And during this process, Qin Wanyu's movements became softer, her expression became softer, and she got closer and closer to Sul Yang. Unconsciously, she became intimate with Sul Yang. Feeling the perfect softness, elasticity, and strength on his legs, with the delicate fragrance lingering on the tip of his nose, Sul Yang nodded with satisfaction and narrowed his eyes again. However, Yang Kaoj was outside the door, but the whole audience was dumbfounded. What should I do if my cousin's man has an unclear relationship with my mother? At this moment, Yang Kaoj was completely dumbfounded. Fortunately, she had believed Sul Yang's vow before, and she still felt guilty for Sul Yang in her heart. As a result, she turned around and saw this. And she, the queen, usually comes to Sul Yang's place every day. Yang Kaoj has enough to think about, but now, she realizes that she doesn't think enough. Can this be tolerated? Absolutely intolerable. But Yang Kaoj still resisted the idea of exposing the two of them on the spot. She had to make sure what her cousin was thinking. At least, I have to let Benjao know everything first, so that I won't be exposed on the spot, and my stupid sister can't bear it. Then Yang Kaoj quickly found Qin Benjao and asked tentatively, "Benjao, what do you think of the Queen Mother?" "It's very good. Although Sister Ying said that the Queen Mother is very cruel and eats people without spitting out bones, I think it's okay. The Queen Mother has always been very kind to others." Qin Benjao thought for a while and said straightforwardly. Then, Qin Benjao asked again, What do you think about Suliang? Qin Benjao said without hesitation, Suliang is the best. Yes, really. The corner of Ying Kao's mouth almost twitched, and he quickly continued, Benjao, I see, the Queen Mother has been running towards you every day recently, and, I see that the Queen Mother treats Suliang very differently, isn't it a bit too intimate? At this point, Yang Kao felt that he could just pull Qin Benjao's ears and tell them that something was wrong with them. However, Qin Benjao looked stupid and didn't understand at all. Instead, she smiled and said, I also discovered that the Queen Mother really values Suliang very much. He is indeed Suliang. He is so powerful. After hearing this and looking at Qin Benjao's innocent and cute look, Yang Kao bit her lower lip lightly, feeling even more distressed. This sister of mine is so innocent and trusts you so much, but you are messing around behind her back. Are you still human? Suliang, with such a stunning beauty like Benjao, you still dare to be half-hearted, you want me to say something good about you. Filled with the feeling of hating iron, Yang Kao decisively approached Suliang, grabbed Suliang's clothes, and scolded, Suliang, I misjudged you. I didn't expect that you turned out to be such a despicable person. My cousin is so simple and so trusts you. You and the Queen Mother are like this. Are you worthy of her? Suliang blinked in confusion and waited for a while before he understood what Yang Kao meant. He spread his hands and looked innocent, but this is clearly what Benjao instigated me to do. Do you think I want this? However, facing Suliang's explanation, Yang Kao showed disbelief. It's impossible. Benjao's brain is not broken. How could she instigate her husband and others? That's right, I think so too. Suliang nodded in agreement. It's hard for me to explain the key to this. Even I don't know when Benjao became like this and had such a magical habit. Whether you believe it or not, this is actually the truth. Looking at Suliang's innocent look, Yang Kao stared at it for a long time before finally letting go of Suliang and said, well, for the sake of your husband and wife's harmony, it just so happens that the 7-day time limit agreed upon by you and me has come. Then follow me to the tidal mouth. Take advantage of this time to think about it carefully. You can't be obsessed with beauty, and you can't let Benjao be sorry. All right. Suliang quickly raised his hands and surrendered. He didn't want to say anything to Yang Kao. The tidal mouth, which was suspected to have the inheritance of the Qing Emperor, was very important to Suliang. If he missed this time, he didn't know when it would open again next time. Is this the tidal mouth? Suliang and Yang Kao stood in front of a deep crack, looking at the bottomless darkness below. Suliang asked. At this moment, as Yang Kao said before, something seemed to have opened in the abyss-like crack, and the spiritual energy inside burst out like a tide, carrying the objects inside and falling to the ground in 2s and 3s. This tidal eruption is extremely powerful, which means that both Suliang and Yang Kao have good cultivation. Otherwise, just by a tidal eruption, both of them would be torn to pieces here. Yes, right here. Yang Kao nodded. This tidal gap suddenly appeared here and opened very regularly. But every time it opened, it was accompanied by an extremely powerful tidal explosion. Therefore, until now, no one has been able to get in and out of it intact. Find out. Suliang nodded understandingly when Tingui said this. Indeed, the power of this tidal explosion is a bit outrageous, and it is not comparable to the spiritual energy tide of Tiandao sect. With Suliang's current physical strength and strength far exceeding the normal level, even standing here feels a tearing pain. Ordinary cultivators would not dare to go down to explore easily. Even if they go down, they will never come back. Of course, in the vast Great Xia, there are naturally strong men who can enter and exit it, but such strong men are very scarce in the entire Great Xia. When the previous emperor dies and no new emperor takes the throne, who dares to take action easily? Standing at the mouth of the tide, Suliang touched his chin and thought for a moment, then said, "You wait here for now, I'll go down and take a look." However, Yenkao shook his head, "I am not necessarily weaker than you. Although you are a bit scumbag and have done something sorry for Benjao, Benjao still likes you the most. Since I brought you out, then I have to take you back completely. Stop talking anymore, I will go down with you." But Suliang still wanted to say something, but at this moment, the Qing Emperor Eternal Life Cauldron in Suliang's body suddenly started to tremble. Pieces of light spilled from it, bursting out with bursts of movement that even Suliang could barely suppress. As the spiritual energy spewed out of Tide's mouth became more and more powerful, the Qing Emperor's cauldron of eternal life trembled more and more fiercely. The light within it appeared according to a certain pattern, as if it was resonating with something. Immediately afterwards, before Suliang and Yenkao could react, the tide in the gap suddenly stopped. As the Qing Emperor Eternal Life Cauldron in Suliang's body shook violently, the next moment, a powerful suction force erupted from the tide mouth, directly restraining the two of them, and even forcefully sucked them in. Faced with this almost irresistible force, Suliang and Yenkao had no room to fight back. Inside the tidal mouth, Suliang slowly opened his eyes and got up from the ground. The previous memories came back to his mind bit by bit, subconsciously making him observe left and right. Volume 1 Chapter 210 Can only mouth-to-mouth help detoxify? Empress, be careful. Looking at the strange scenery beside him and feeling the rich aura around him, Suliang frowned slightly. Is this the inside of the tide mouth? I remember that Yenkao came in with me. Where did she go at this time? Well, there was a muffled hum, and Suliang looked in the direction of the sound, and sure enough he found traces of Yenkao. Suliang quickly walked over and helped Yenkao up. Suliang asked with concern, "Are you okay?" Yenkao shook his head and looked around. Is this the inside of the tide mouth? Suliang nodded and sighed, "Sorry, I still got you involved. But since you're here, let's take a look around together." Good. Yenkao nodded without hesitation, but he didn't realize that his hand was still tightly held by Suliang. Chapter 306, The Person Blocking the Road. Suliang and Yenkao were walking in the tidal mouth. Their original intention was to find the inheritance of the Qing Emperor. However, after walking for a long time, the place was still desolate. Compared with the previous inheritance test when he obtained the Qing Emperor's inheritance from hundreds of sects competing against each other, this time it can be described as dull and extremely calm. If it weren't for the fact that the Qing Emperor Eternal Life Cauldron in Suliang's body was still vibrating and resonating, Suliang would have thought that he had made a mistake. Even Yenkao looked at Suliang with some confusion. Did we find the wrong one? There is obviously nothing here. Suliang shook his head, it should be right. I'm still somewhat sure of this. Let's go a little further and see. If it still doesn't work, we can only change the direction. But at this moment, Suliang and Yenkao were shocked to find that a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Who is there? The two of them immediately stopped, and Yenkao subconsciously shouted and asked. However, that figure showed no reaction. In fact, it was hiding in the darkness and could not even see its face clearly. Huh, pretending to be a ghost. Yenkao snorted and looked at Suliang. What should we do? Suliang frowned slightly and looked at the figure not far away. He felt it carefully for a moment and then said, be prepared. Let's continue to move forward. If he doesn't take action, that's it. If he takes action to stop us, that's it, we can only take action to deal with it. Good. Yenkao nodded. Now, this is the only way. Then, with the decision made, Suliang subconsciously protected Yenkao behind him, took the first step, and stepped out. But at this moment, the figure not far away suddenly exuded a vast aura. Under the impact of this aura, even Suliang and Yang Kao's expressions froze, and they felt an indescribable sense of oppression. This figure is actually a powerful person. Judging from his aura, his cultivation level may have broken through the peak of Dragon Transformation realm and reached the realm of Immortality realm. He made no movement at all before, but when Suliang just moved forward, he released his breath. The meaning of this was already obvious. He didn't want Suliang and Yang Kao to move on. This is trouble. Suliang murmured softly. He never thought that in this industry, he would encounter such a strong obstacle. With his cultivation level, immortal cultivators at the peak of the Dragon Transformation realm may not be his opponents, but as long as they reach the Immortality realm, their strength will far exceed that of the Dragon Transformation realm. Even Suliang is not sure whether he can win. But the matter has come to this: the inheritance of the Qing Emperor is very likely to be ahead. How could Suliang stop here? Then Suliang shouted in a deep voice, "Do it!" Immediately. He immediately took action, and the Minghai Giwen Jin was activated. The vast sword energy stretched around him, as if it blocked the sky and the sun. Holding the long sword in his hand, he stabbed out with the sword without regrets. The sharp sword intent bursting out from Suliang's body seemed to reach even the heaven and earth. Split it apart. At the same time as Suliang took action, Yang Kao did not miss a beat. He and Suliang had a perfect tacit understanding. Almost as soon as Suliang's words came out, he waved his sleeves and attacked with force, hitting the most powerful figure. Moment. Suliang and Yang Kao joined forces to fight the blocker. How could an ordinary person in the Dragon Transformation realm be an opponent who could surpass the peak of Dragon Transformation? The other party just leaked his aura, and a cultivator in the Dragon Transformation realm might not be able to bear it anymore. But Suliang and Yang Kao are nowhere near the ordinary Dragon Transformation realm. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 226. Suliang Ben had various heaven-defying physiques, had martial arts in hand, and had been inherited by the Qing Emperor. Yang Kao had also been recognized by Zilong. He had extraordinary potential and was by no means weak in strength. The two of them acted together and cooperated with each other, creating an unimaginable tacit understanding. All it takes is a look, or sometimes even a look is not needed. Between two people, as long as the other person makes a move, the other person can understand the other person's thoughts and cooperate. This time, the effect is far beyond what ordinary people can understand. For a moment, there was a feeling of sympathy between Suliang and Yang Kao. And with this kind of cooperation, in just an instant, the two of them suppressed this powerful blocker. As time passed, little by little, the fighting in the tide mouth gradually weakened, until it finally stopped completely. Although they suffered some injuries, Suliang and Yang Kao actually defeated this powerful blocker. Seeing Yang Kao struggling with internal injuries, he fought hard with the blocker and entangled him. Suliang took the opportunity to use all his body skills and approached the blocker like a ghost. The long sword in his hand was crisscrossed, and he penetrated the blocker without any regrets. Get the blocker. Immediately. Without enough time to see what was happening to the blocker, Suliang and Yang Kao sat on the ground regardless of their appearance, feeling the strong pressure belonging to the blocker disappear, breathing heavily to soothe the pain of their injuries. After a while, he felt better. Suliang stood up and walked to Yang Kao and asked with concern, "Are you okay?" "Fine." Yang Kao shook his head, as if because Suliang came, he straightened his clothes and put his legs together, but inadvertently exposed his beautiful legs wrapped in black silk. However, because the previous battle was too fierce, There were already many holes in the ordinary black silk stockings on Yingkeo's legs. Through the holes of different sizes, Yingkeo's snow-white skin was clearly exposed, and the little bit of plumpness that was tightly attached to her stockings took this opportunity to squeeze out of the holes. It looks like it has a different kind of beauty, which actually makes Yingkeo look more attractive. This scene happened to be seen by Suliang. Although he had already seen his girlfriend and sisters wore damaged clothes, at this moment, Suliang couldn't help but swallow. No wonder Suliang couldn't help it, it was because Ying Chaoji was so beautiful. At this time, he also realized that something was wrong with him. Yingkeo subconsciously raised his head and looked at Suliang. He saw Suliang's eyes staring at his legs and saw everything. Suddenly, Yingkeo's cheeks turned red and his eyes were brilliant. Feeling extremely ashamed. After defeating the blockers, Suliang and Yingkeo rested for a while before continuing to set off. If the journey had been uneventful, Suliang might have suspected that he had chosen the wrong direction, but having the most powerful person blocking his way made Suliang firm in his thoughts. There must be a legacy from the Qing Emperor ahead. But at this moment, ah! Yingkeo screamed, his body softened, and he fell to the ground. Seeing this, Suliang hurriedly stepped forward to support Yingkeo, sat on the ground, put Yingkeo in his arms, frowned and checked Yingkeo, and asked, "What's wrong?" Yingkeo's lips were now blue and he couldn't speak completely. He just raised his arm and showed it to Suliang. On her arm, a strange insect the size of a thumb was lying on Yingkeo's arm and bit it. "What's this?" Suliang frowned and looked at the bug on Yingkeo's body. The bug was not big in size, but its shape was extremely weird. There were strange patterns scattered on its body, and it didn't look simple. Suliang had never even seen such a weird thing, let alone how to deal with it. Yingkeo managed to gather some energy and said with a trembling voice, "The name of this poisonous insect has been lost long ago. I only know that it is the most poisonous and evil creature in ancient times. Logically speaking, it should have disappeared long ago. Who can I knew it would appear here? Suliang, you don't need to worry too much, just kill it." After hearing this, Suliang took action decisively, comparing his fingers to sword fingers. A sword energy appeared beside Suliang. Then, Suliang controlled him and slashed at the bug on Yingkeo's arm. Squeak! With an extremely weird cry, the poisonous insect was cut in half by Suliang, and fell from Yingkeo, but turned into a pool of thick black water. The black water contained extremely poisonous water, and even the ground was extremely corroded. Deep. Seeing this, Suliang's expression not only changed slightly. This thing, after being beheaded, is actually so poisonous. If it bites you, how deeply will Yingkeo be poisoned? No wonder, just for a moment, she couldn't even stand. Suliang asked hurriedly, "How should I detoxify you?" The name of this extremely poisonous evil creature from ancient times has not even been recorded. I have only seen a brief description of it. Where can I find a way to detoxify it? Hearing this, Suliang frowned slightly and began to think carefully. It was because of him that Yingkeo entered the mouth of the tide, and he was also his girlfriend's cousin. If Yingkeo hadn't cooperated with him just now, it would have been difficult for him to pass the blocker. Although Yingkeo is the protagonist, he has never been hostile to him. On the contrary, he has a good relationship with him. All things considered, Suliang would never let Yingkeo die here. And at this critical moment, a warm reminder, the host carries the Qing Emperor Eternal Life Cauldron. The Eternal Life can refine all things, elixirs can be refined, and hundreds of poisons can be refined. Suliang was stunned when he heard the sound of the system. How could this dog system of mine be so kind and still remind myself of this? No, no, there must be some follow-up waiting for you. Really? Before Suliang could finish his thoughts, the system's voice continued, The specific detoxification method: ask the host to suck the poison out of the opponent's body mouth to mouth, and then refine it through the eternal life cauldron. Good guy, are you waiting for me here? Is mouth to mouth okay? This is my girlfriend's cousin, and she's also a protagonist. You want me to take advantage of someone else's situation and take advantage of the protagonist? What kind of Cao thief is this? But after saying this, the system's voice completely disappeared. No matter how much Suliang shouted in his heart, he stopped making any sound. It seems that if Suliang doesn't want Yang Kaoj to die, this is the only way he can go. What to do? Does it really have to be mouth to mouth? Looking at Yang Kaoj in his arms, whose breath was getting weaker and weaker, and whose eyes were gradually becoming confused and hazy, Suliang gritted his teeth and finally made up his mind. Done. Is it possible that we really want to watch her die here? As for accidentally having sex, it's just detoxification, she shouldn't care, right? Probably not. After making up his mind, Suliang hugged Yang Kaoj's hand tightly, then decisively lowered his head, pressed his lips towards Yang Kaoj's pink lips, and gave him a forceful kiss. At the same time, threads of true energy belonging to Suliang penetrated into Yang Kaoj's body, quickly found the location of the poison, and forced all the poison into Yang Kaoj's mouth, and then all of it was absorbed by Suliang. Well, after being kissed by force suddenly, Yang Kaoj immediately woke up, his eyes widened, and his body subconsciously struggled to move away, resisting indescribably. But at this moment, life is at stake, and Suliang doesn't even have the heart to taste the sweetness of Yang Kaoj's pink and waxy lips. How can he let Yang Kaoj break free? Then, after a while, all the toxins in Yang Kaoj's body were transferred to Suliang's body. Her body quickly began to improve. Apart from being a little weak, she was not in any danger. But looking at Suliang, he was riddled with poison at this moment, and his whole body was filled with a layer of black energy. After being let go by Suliang, Yang Kaoj had no intention of continuing to struggle at this moment. He just sat next to him and looked at Suliang blankly, feeling very moved in his heart. That is the most poisonous evil thing from ancient times. If you are contaminated with even a little bit of the toxins in it, there is absolutely no reason to survive. But Suliang was actually willing to absorb all the toxins in my body into his body. Even if he has a way to detoxify, it's still risking his life, right? As soon as he thought about this, Yang Kaoj found that his heart was beating very fast. When he looked at Suliang again, he actually felt a little nervous. And this time, Suliang was already sitting cross-legged on the ground, inhaling the toxins in his body and throwing them all into the eternal life cauldron, using the eternal life cauldron to refine the poison. After a while, the brilliance of the eternal life cauldron shone, and the poison in it was completely refined and fed back to Suliang, turning into Suliang's nutrients. Boom! After a roar, with the help of this poisonous refining, Suliang's realm actually broke through again. Opening his eyes and clenching his fists, Suliang felt the majestic power in his body and nodded with satisfaction. At this moment, if he met the previous blocker again, he might be able to fight him back and forth just by himself. After getting rid of Yang Kaoj's poisoning, Suliang and Yang Kaoj set foot on the road forward again. I don't know how long they walked, and there was no way ahead. Suliang immediately realized that the two of them had finally reached the deepest part of the tidal mouth. Volume 1 # Chapter 211 The Empress Who Tied Herself Up and Sent Her There. Suliang, look, there is a mural here. Yang Kaoj pointed to the mural on the wall in front of him and called Suliang. Suliang immediately stepped forward, looked at the mural, and saw the extremely familiar figure at a glance. It was the phantom of the Qing Emperor that I saw when I met the Qing Emperor before for trial. This is the mural of Qing Emperor. Therefore, this is really where the Qing Emperor's inheritance lies. Thinking in his mind, Suliang felt faintly excited. And at the same time, in Suliang's eyes, the mural in front of him suddenly changed. The pictures on it suddenly blurred and transformed. Faintly, bright rays of light entered Suliang's mind. After a while, the changes in the mural finally stopped. Suliang felt dizzy, as if he had been crammed with many things. When he explored the extra things in his mind, he discovered that it was a complete film. A unique skill. Unrivaled knowledge, if I were the Qing Emperor in that year. Not only that. A stream of firewood burning with bright flames entered Suliang's body at some unknown time, went straight under the eternal life cauldron, and turned into the cauldron's burning fireworks. The flames licked the bottom of the eternal life cauldron, accelerating the refining of the elixir inside. The faint and tangy medicinal fragrance gushed out from it, silently nourishing Suliang's body. Just smelling this medicinal fragrance made him feel relaxed. Wow, the effect is amazing. Unconsciously, the name of this firewood appeared in Suliang's mind. The fire-burning flame, this is what is matched with the eternal life cauldron. Feeling everything he had gained, Suliang couldn't help but smile. The second inheritance of Qing Emperor was obtained by himself in this way. But at this moment, Suliang only felt that his vision went dark. The Qing Emperor consciousness carried in the inheritance was actually shared with Suliang. Immediately afterwards, an incomplete picture appeared in front of Suliang's eyes. In the picture, the background is extremely blurry, but between the sky and the earth, there is a beautiful figure in white clothes standing in the world. That beautiful figure has an almost perfect figure, red lips, white teeth, bright eyes, and white teeth, and a beautiful face like a goddess. No matter who takes a look at it, they can't help but be moved. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 227. However, looking down, the beautiful figure in white was holding a bloody hatchet in her hand. The hatchet was glowing with blood. If you looked closely, it seemed like a drop of blood was dripping down from the top. It was full of murderous intent and looked terrifying and extremely bloody. Moment. Suliang was shocked and woke up instantly. He was so shocked that he broke into a cold sweat. That beautiful figure in white, who is she? Why, I would see her. At this moment, layers of doubts filled Suliang's mind, making him think hard, but he couldn't figure it out. After finding the Qing Emperor's inheritance, Suliang and Ying Caoj naturally had no reason to stay in Chao Xiang's mouth. Then, the two returned the same way, and soon they walked out of the tidal mouth and returned to Shengjing. Suliang, you are finally back. Qin Binjao threw herself into her boyfriend's arms and hugged her boyfriend, feeling extremely happy. Although my boyfriend hasn't been out for a long time, he just wants to think about him. What's wrong with thinking about his man? Ahem, I'm back. Suliang hugged his girlfriend with some embarrassment. To be honest, he had just forcibly kissed his girlfriend's sister in the mouth of Chao Xiang, and now he was hugging his girlfriend. Although it was to save people and follow the emergency, it was still unavoidable. It's a little embarrassing. Ying Caoj also subconsciously frowned slightly and moved forward a little. Although he knew that Suliang was his sister's man, it was normal for the two of them to be like this, but the little hint in Chao Xiang's mouth was not fake. However, all of this was Ying Caoj's subconscious behavior, and even she herself was not aware of it. However, Qin Binjao was keenly aware of the strange atmosphere between the two. Glancing at the two of them suspiciously, Qin Binjao let go of her man, took a step back, put her hands on her hips, puffed out her chest, and scolded arrogantly, "Suliang, Sister Ying, you two went on a tryst behind my back." Puff. Suliang almost spat out, "What the hell is this?" Although he did feel a little embarrassed, he still had a clear conscience. It was a serious matter, so why did it become a tryst? However, Ying Caoj's body trembled slightly, and then, Without thinking, he immediately stepped forward, hugged his sister, and pressed her head on his proud peak. With a fierce hand, he decisively taught him a lesson. He said, "Bah, you girl, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm just helping your man get a chance. You. Chin Benjeo whimpered and struggled, but seeing that she couldn't break free, she decisively turned her hands into claws and grabbed her sister's proud peak. Ah! Yang Kaoj screamed and subconsciously let go of Chin Benjeo. However, seeing his sister being extremely arrogant, he decisively fought back. So, the two sisters started fighting like this, but they really allowed Yang Kaoj to get away with it and made Chin Benjeo forget what happened before. The fight between the two sisters aroused Yefei's curiosity. As Yang Kaoj's best friend, how could Yefei not understand Yang Kaoj? In the past, she had always looked cold, proud, dignified, and even if she smiled, it was fake. But now Yang Kaoj does seem to be a little different. It's as if the mask has been taken off, he is much softer and gentler, and even his smile is much more sincere. After a fight, Chin Benjeo jumped into her boyfriend's arms decisively and curled up in her boyfriend's arms. It was called crying, but in fact she was asking her boyfriend to post, "Solang, sister Yang bullied me, I'm not happy anymore, you need a kiss will make it better." Okay. Solang shook his head and laughed, hugged his boyfriend, lowered his head and kissed him. Yang Kaoj, who was on the side, was a little absent-minded at the moment. In the mouth of Chao Xiang, the scene where Solang wanted to save her even if he was poisoned kept replaying it in her mind. Although she knew that Solang definitely didn't care about this, Yang Kaoj couldn't help but care. I want to repay the favor. But for a proud man like Solang, he didn't care about money or even status. The dynasty couldn't provide him with the top resource skills he wanted. So, it's better to give him something he likes. Suddenly, Yang Kaoj thought of the incident where his sister came to him crying at night and told him that she wanted to sleep with him. It seems like that's someone's favorite trick. Gritting his teeth, Yang Kaoj made up his mind. While Chin Benjeo was wandering around and having fun, Solang returned to the room alone, planning to take a rest. In the mouth of the tide, after fighting hard and absorbing and refining a lot of toxins, even Solang would feel a little tired. However, when he just walked into his room, he saw Yang Kaoj, who had tied himself up and walked to his door. To be honest, Yang Kaoj's skills are actually quite good, but if you do it yourself, it's not easy to show off. Therefore, although the style is like a tortoise shell, which highlights Yang Kaoj's proud peaks, slender legs, deep valleys and other advantages, making Yang Kaoj look more attractive, but in the end, it is still a bit disharmonious. But at this moment, facing Yang Kaoj like this, Solang was shocked. He tied himself up, still in the same astringent manner, and sent himself to his sister's man's room, letting his sister's man do whatever he wanted to him. You actually like this tone? So you are such a princess? Solang asked subconsciously, what are you doing? Looking at Solyang's surprised face, Yang Kaoj seemed to realize that he had made something wrong, and immediately felt embarrassed. Isn't this your hobby? Hearing this, Solyang was speechless. Who told you this is my hobby? I just played it once for my girlfriend, okay. However, recalling the time when his girlfriend was tied up by him, Solyang rubbed his chin and thought about it. Is it possible that his girlfriend has spread rumors to others? In this way, in Yang Kaoj's heart, he turned out to be a good person? So, in the room, Solyang and Yang Kaoj looked at each other, feeling a little embarrassed. After a while, Solyang took the lead to break the atmosphere, untied Yang Kaoj, and said softly, "Princess, you don't need to do this." However, Solyang did not expect that after hearing this, Yang Kaoj looked at Solyang for a moment with a slightly resentful look, Can I not let you take another look at me like this? Okay, I understand. Say it. Yang Kaoj stood up and wanted to leave sadly. But at this moment, Suliang looked at Yang Kaoj's exposed slender white legs, and suddenly thought of the broken stockings on Yang Kaoj's body after the battle in Cao Cao's mouth. Subconsciously, Suliang picked up a few pairs of stockings and said, "Before, I saw that your stockings were too broken to wear. How about I give you a few pairs?" Yang Kaoj turned his head and glanced at the thing in Suliang's hand. Several pairs of stockings are all made of black stockings, tightly wrapped in various beautiful packaging, with different styles. It can be said that privacy is taken care of quite a lot. It stands to reason that Yang Kaoj should be shy about being given something private by a member of the opposite sex, but now she has completely given up on herself and no longer feels any shyness. Anyway, I had tied myself up just now and sent it to him, but he still didn't look at me twice, so why did I have to make such a shy gesture? Following Suliang's eyes, Yang Kaoj looked at his smooth, white, jade-like beautiful legs, and pursed his lips. It seems, maybe roughly, that my legs are indeed very attractive? Immediately stretching out her beautiful legs, Yang Kaoj said calmly, "Come and put my stockings on." The tone was very strong, and it sounded like an order, not a discussion with Suliang. Suliang definitely couldn't accept this and refused, "No, no, how can this be possible?" However, he did not expect that in the face of Suliang's rejection, Yang Kaoj directly spoke harshly to him. Volume 1 Chapter 212 No matter how much you like a man, you can't steal it from your sister. If you don't accept it, I will tell your girlfriend and you forcefully kiss me. Of course you can argue that you were trying to save me, but that's the fact. Things have already happened. Do you think Benjeo is still willing to believe your explanation under such circumstances? After the words fell, a dangerous smile appeared on Yang Kaoj's face. At this moment, Yang Kaoj completely transformed into a villain, forcing Suliang, a good family, in this way. Facing the villain like Yang Kaoj, Suliang could only agree reluctantly, "Okay, okay." Immediately, he asked Yang Kaoj to sit down, and he took out a pair of black stockings, picked up Yang Kaoj, who was as smooth as white jade, and put her petite feet into the stockings. Left, right, then, lift them up together. Following Suliang's movements, the atmosphere between the two gradually became ambiguous. When the stockings were lifted over her beautiful legs, Suliang could clearly feel that Yang Kaoj's beautiful legs were full of elasticity and smooth. The extra smooth touch was like holding a beautiful jade in the hand, which made people want to stop. Even Suliang couldn't bear it. He swallowed. So quickly came to his senses and felt a little ashamed. Just now, I had evil thoughts? No, this is really inappropriate. But with this thought in his mind, Suliang kept holding on to his hands and asked Yang Kaoj to stand up. After Yang Kaoj stood up with a blushing face and confused eyes, Suliang held up the edge of the black stockings, hugged Yang Kaoj from behind, crossed the hem of her skirt, and gently lifted it to her waist. During this process, all the beautiful scenery on the side of Yang Kaoj could be seen in Suliang's hands. As long as Suliang's hand was slightly tilted, it would be a pincer attack from both front and back. Suliang's behavior naturally made Yang Kaoj's body tremble slightly and he immediately woke up. The two were so close to each other at the moment, almost hugging each other, feeling the warmth and breath coming from Suliang behind them. Those hot palms were placed on his waist through the skirt. At this moment, Yang Kaoj, feeling extremely shy, snapped. After knocking off Suliang's hand with a slap, Yang Kaoj fled the room in a panic without having time to think about anything. It wasn't until he reached a place where no one was around that Yang Kaoj had time to stop and touch his hot cheek, feeling a little flustered. How could I make such a bold move? Unexpectedly, she actually asked her sister's man to wear stockings or pantyhose for her. This is completely possessed. But at this time, Yefei's voice suddenly sounded beside her. "Your Highness, why are you here? It just so happens that the situation in the past few days has been summarized, and I will report it to His Highness." Turning to look at his older best friend, Yankeoj blinked and immediately asked, "Yefei, I have a friend who has encountered some trouble recently. Can you help analyze it?" "One time. Your Highness's friends are the friends of the general. Your Highness, please speak. The general should tell you everything he knows." Yefei immediately said seriously. "That's all?" Yankeoj asked while speaking. "My friend met a special man. Others are extremely respectful to my friend, but that man dared to teach her a lesson. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator." Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 228. Also, my friend was accidentally poisoned. In order to detoxify her, the man kissed her directly and absorbed the toxin into his body. However, my friend was not only not angry about being kissed, but also felt the heart is beating very fast. In order to repay that man, my friend tied myself up and sent him to the door. He also asked the man to wear silk stockings for him. He told Yefei all about what he had encountered. Finally, Yankeoj asked, "Anyway, my friend seems to care about that man very much. When he is rejected by a man, he will be unhappy. Seeing that man is also unhappy when he is close to another woman. Analyze, what is my friend's feelings towards that man?" Hearing this, Yefei didn't think anything of it, didn't question it, and said directly, "No need to look at it, of course I like it." In one sentence, Yankeoj's expression immediately changed. He actually fell in love with his sister's man? How is this possible, how is this possible? Yankeoj shook his head, finding it difficult to accept. In the mansion, not long after Qin Benjao returned home, Queen Mother Qin Wanyu came to visit. "Queen Mother." Before Suliang could react, Qin Benjao immediately rushed out and hugged Qin Wanyu's arm, looking affectionate. "The Queen Mother has been busy all day, and she finally has time to see Yaoer. Yaoer looks like you oh. Haha, the Igia misses you too." "No, the Igia just came to see you when they were free." While talking, Qin Wanyu touched Qin Benjao's head, looking kind. Looking at the closeness between the two, they look like a mother and daughter. Seeing this scene, Suliang was stunned. "What's the situation? I just went out for a while. Why is the relationship between my girlfriend and the Queen Mother so good?" At this time, seeing the Queen Mother looking over, Suliang immediately saluted and said, "Meet the Queen Mother." "Oh, didn't I say that you don't need to be so polite to me? You and I are a family. If you do this, it will inevitably lead to a lot of separation." Qin Wanyu shook her head, took Suliang's hand and walked into the house. "Let's all go in and talk." "What's going on here?" He followed Qin Wanyu into the house with a confused look on his face. After Qin Wanyu was settled, Suliang immediately picked up Qin Benjao and went to the next room and asked, "Benjao, what's going on? Why do you have such a good relationship with the Queen Mother?" Unexpectedly, Qin Benjao said happily, "Suliang, how are you?" "I'm great, right." "What do you mean by that word?" "Wingman." "Yes, that's wingman." Suliang, he is the strongest wingman. These days, he has helped you get a lot of assists." While Suliang was away, he and Yankeoj went to the Tide Mouth to find the time for the Qing Emperor's inheritance. The relationship between Qin Benjao and the Queen Mother is so good. In the past few days, Qin Wanyu came to look for Suliang. Suliang was not there, so Qin Wanyu entertained her. Qin Wanyu originally wanted to leave quickly, but she and Qin Wanyu were so close and intimate that Qin Wanyu forgot to leave. If Qin Wanyu couldn't come, Qin Benjao would invite Qin Wanyu to come over and play, and even go to the palace to accompany Qin Wanyu. In short, in a few days, Qin Binjao's favorability with Qin Wanyu was so high that it skyrocketed. What on earth have you done? Seeing Qin Binjao's slightly satisfied look, Suliang couldn't help but ask questions from the depths of his soul. Oh, Suliang, don't worry so much. Qin Binjao shook her head and said, the Queen Mother dealt with him better than Master. She helped Suliang without much effort. Haha, is the Queen Mother easy to deal with? The first time I was summoned, there was an illusion charm waiting for me. If the illusion charm failed, there was also a killer. You call this easy to deal with? This is just what you call yourself. Facing Qin Binjao's confidence, Suliang smiled and said nothing. But no matter what, Qin Binjao is indeed becoming more and more skillful in dealing with older people. Without saying anything more to Suliang, Qin Binjao turned back to the room, sat down in front of Qin Wanyu, and said intentionally or unintentionally, quickly, Queen Mother, have some tea. Suliang is next door. There are some things that need to be done. He will be here soon. Is it true that when Qin Binjao said this, she thought it was rude that Suliang didn't come to accompany the guest? No, in fact, she just wanted to tell Qin Wan about Suliang's position and create opportunities for her boyfriend. According to her understanding of Qin Wanyu will definitely find an excuse to see her man. Really? Hearing Qin Binjao's words, Qin Wanyu chuckled and said, Binjao, please wait here for a while. The AI family just remembered that the guards outside have not yet explained it. The AI family will come as soon as they go. Say it. Qin Wanyu stood up, left the room, closed the door, turned around and entered the next room. The moment he saw Qin Wanyu coming in, Suliang was shocked and subconsciously took 2 steps back. However, Qin Wanyu closed the door, and then she moved lightly, with a soft and malicious smile on her face, and kept approaching Suliang. Next, blocking Suliang directly against the wall, he leaned forward, his pair of proud peaks tightly squeezing Suliang, and his plump legs slightly rubbing against Suliang's legs. One hand held Suliang's chin, and the other gently wiped Suliang's lips. Then, Qin Wanyu smiled softly and leaned close to Suliang's ear. Hey, little guy, now that you are back, why don't you do it, come and see me? Do you know how hard it is for me to stay alone in an empty house during these times when you are away? Humph, in your heart, you only have your little girlfriend. Doesn't it mean that there is no place for me as a concubine? Queen Mother, please respect yourself. Suliang's face sank and he said seriously. Oh, are you talking about this kind of self-respect? Qin Wanyu put her slender hand on her lower abdomen. Indeed, if there is a little brother like you here, then I will really respect myself. After saying this, Qin Wanyu looked at Suliang's rather embarrassed expression and smiled proudly. Hey, your girlfriend is next door, but I'm here to bully you. Isn't it exciting? However, what Qin Wanyu didn't expect was that she thought she was bullying Suliang in all kinds of places where Qin Binjao couldn't see her, but in fact, this was a situation completely controlled by Suliang. Calling her man out alone, and then unintentionally revealing his man's location to Qin Wanyu. To be able to help her own man conquer other women and create opportunities to such an extent, Qin Binjao is simply a role model for girlfriends. Such behavior is touching. Ever since Suliang changed his stockings, Yang Kaoj felt that he was always a little panicked when facing Suliang. Originally, before he did something outrageous like that, Suliang had his whole leg, and even the upper part of his leg, looked at and understood, but this was still what he asked for. How can people see him? In the mansion. Hey, morning princess. Suliang and Qin Binjao had dinner and saw Yang Kaoj walking in the yard, so they waved and said hello. Morning, good morning. After greeting Suliang very awkwardly, Yang Kaoj turned and left without hesitation, leaving Suliang alone and confused. At lunch, Suliang made lunch and put it on the table. When he saw Yang Kaoj sitting on the table, he smiled and said, "I heard Benjeo tell you something you like to eat. I had nothing to do, so I made a few dishes. You can try it and see how it tastes." "Thank you." Yingkeoj thanked him stiffly, and with great difficulty suppressed the urge to stand up and run into Suliang's arms. He picked up the chopsticks, picked up a little, and put it in his mouth. However, Ying Zhaogaban picked up his chair and quietly moved a little closer to Suliang. Although he didn't look at Suliang because he was panicked and just immersed himself in eating, he still moved closer to Suliang unconsciously. Well, he was actually willing to learn from Benjeo what I like to eat, and he made it so delicious. Unable to help but look up at Suliang, Qin Benjeo felt her heart beating much faster, and quickly lowered her head, focusing on eating alone. But Suliang didn't seem to realize anything at all. He didn't even notice that Yingkeoj was getting closer and closer to him. He just looked at the way Yingkeoj lowered his head and kept eating, shook his head and laughed, "Don't worry, no one is following you. Grab it, if you think it tastes good, I'll just make some more." Hearing this, Yingkeoj stiffened, but slowed down. "How could you still care about me so much?" Unexpectedly, he was quite gentle. Soon, after finishing the food in the bowl, Yingkeoj placed the bowl on the table and said calmly, "I'm full and let's go." After that, he stood up and left. At this moment, she didn't dare to face Suliang anymore. When facing Suliang, that uncontrollable little panic is one thing, but what's more important is, Yingkeoj always felt that there was a devil living deep in his heart and was about to break free from control. The devil's whispers echoed in his ears at any time, telling him to do things that would destroy other people's families. Several times, Yingkeoj almost lost control. And if the devil escapes? Yingkeoj didn't even know what he could do. She was very worried. For a moment, she really couldn't control it. From this point on, Yingkeoj began to be patient, telling himself all the time that he was his sister's man and could not destroy family harmony, and tried to keep himself calm and collected when facing Suliang. No matter how much he likes her, he is still my sister's man, and he is a step too late after all. So, no matter how much you like her, you can't steal your sister's man. It seems quite ethical. But no matter what, my mother is very dishonest. She has no restraint and integrity that a queen mother should have. She disturbs others every day. In the early morning, breakfast had just been finished and everyone in the mansion was free. It stands to reason that because of Yingkeoj, Suliang, and Qin Benjeo got up early enough during this period. At this time, the people in Shengjing have not yet gotten up, so no one should come to visit at this time. However, just when Suliang, Qin Benjeo, and Yingkeoj were sitting in the yard, planning to chat for a while before practicing again. Volume 1 Chapter 213 The Queen Mother and the Empress Shura Field. Qin Huanyu's figure appeared in the courtyard. As for this scene, Suliang and the others didn't find it strange at all. Instead, they were used to it. These days, Qin Huanyu is becoming less and less restrained. She comes here early every morning, seemingly impatient and unable to waste any time. And at night, Qin Huanyu didn't leave here until very late, when most people in Shengjing had fallen asleep. She felt as if she didn't want to leave. In this regard, like Qin Huanyu, Yingkeoj, who often stays here, seems to be the person who understands Qin Huanyu's thoughts best. Walking into the courtyard, they saw that Suliang and the other two people were sitting around a table. There was boiled tea on the table, and they seemed to be chatting. Qin Huanyu moved lightly and came to the three of them. With a soft smile on his face, "It seems that I came here by chance. Although I didn't catch up with you to have breakfast, I still got some tea." "Say it." Qin Huanyu moved the chair and sat next to Suliang very naturally. The table was a square table, and it was just right for 4 people to sit on one side. However, Qin Wanyu made it so that she and Suliang shared one side. The two of them were very close to each other, almost touching each other. During the movement, their arms moved. Shoulders, there were a lot of touches. Immediately afterwards, Qin Wanyu took Suliang's arm very naturally and intimately. The pair of proud peaks almost dug into Suliang's arms. This time, the two of them looked even more intimate. Qin Benjao, who was sitting next to her, was isolated by Qin Wanyu. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 229. But despite this, Qin Benjao still smiled and greeted Qin Wanyu. Hey, the Queen Mother is here. Looking at her appearance, it seemed that she really didn't realize anything. She looked like a married daughter who came to visit her mother early in the morning. But whether she discovered anything or not, only she knows. And seeing Suliang and Qin Wanyu acting so intimately, I couldn't bear to watch Yang Kaoj for several days. I have been patient and couldn't steal my cousin's man, but the Queen Mother has absolutely no restraint and integrity that a Queen Mother should have, and does this every day. You are so calm and collected, but you still want to watch your mother flirt with your sister's man, and they are extremely intimate. Why is this? Then, at this moment, all patience and calmness were all forgotten by Yang Kaoj. I did this just to protect my cousin's love. I couldn't let my cousin's man be seduced away by my mother. Yes, that's it. Constantly doing mental construction, Yang Kaoj moved his chair and moved it to the other side of Suliang, right next to Suliang. It didn't matter even if there was no table in front of him. My mother is not too young now, so she shouldn't be so in need of love. Yang Kaoj didn't even look at Qin Wanyu and said very naturally, Benjao and Suliang are so loving and have a deep relationship. Why does the Queen Mother always come to disturb them? This is not just a matter of suitability. If the Queen Mother does this, it will be bad for both Benjao and Suliang, right? While speaking, Yang Kaoj deliberately emphasized Suliang's name, as if to remind Qin Wanyu. Immediately afterwards, Yang Kaoj hugged Suliang's arm, going even further than Qin Wanyu. He directly trapped Suliang's arm into his proud peak, letting his extraordinary softness wrap around Suliang. Not only that, Yang Kaoj also put his chin on Suliang's shoulder, turned his head and looked at Qin Wanyu, his expression calm, but extremely confident and aggressive. Mother, do you think what I said makes sense? Listening to Yang Kaoj's words and feeling the aggressive aura exuded by Yang Kaoj, Qin Wanyu was calm on the surface, but she was very shocked in her heart. My daughter, who had always been calm and collected in the past, seemed to be different. If it were in the past, even if she disliked him again, she would never confront or provoke him like this, right? As the imperial capital, Shengjing has always been prosperous and peaceful, with few major events happening. But on this day, a vision that shocked the entire Daxia broke the supposed peace. This day, suddenly, rays of light fell from the sky, and a powerful pressure enveloped the whole city. Even though it was not unbearable, it brought a great sense of oppression to the entire Shengjing, and even to all living beings in Daxia. People unconsciously looked into the distance. Skyrim. I saw. In the distant sky, in the direction of the True Dragon Mausoleum, a figure of a true dragon so huge that it almost covered the sky and the sun appeared. The real dragon is entrenched in the sky, it is mighty and domineering, and its aura is like an abyss or a prison. Just one look at it will make people kneel down and worship it. It is Daxia's along. Immediately afterwards. Roar. The roar of the real dragon resounded throughout the sky, and then, the holy edict descended from the real dragon and appeared in the sky. Its characters were painted with silver hooks and were unusually vigorous. It has been more than a year since the death of the previous emperor, but there is no new emperor to succeed to the throne in Daxia. The country cannot be without a king for a day. If things go on like this, people's hearts will be unstable, the mountains and rivers are in turmoil, and the country will be ruined. The election of a new emperor is imminent, so it is time to choose another one. Emperor, ascend the throne and inherit the throne. Facing this oracle descended by the ancestral dragon, the members of the Daxia royal family behaved in different ways. Royal Palace. The second prince is in the palace. Your Highness, Your Highness. One person quickly ran up to the second prince and said in a panic, Your Highness, the ancestral dragon has issued an edict, and the election of a new emperor is imminent. Your Highness, you. But before the man could finish his words, the second prince, who was lying on his side on the bench, drinking wine and eating fruit, waved his hand in a leisurely manner. I understand, you can go down. This is. The servant hesitated for a moment, but bowed respectfully. Little did he know that the second prince at this moment had already received the support of Deizai Mobiencien. At this moment, although he looked extremely leisurely on the surface, in fact, privately, he had already begun to feel restless. In the Queen Mother's palace. Looking at the ancestral dragon holy oracle in the sky, Qin Wanyu clenched her jade hands tightly and fell into silence. These days, she went to see Suliang every day, flirting with Suliang in various ways, and was only thinking about how to continue teasing Suliang. This could almost be said to be quite unprofessional. This also made her almost forget her mission of lurking here. Logically speaking, in charge of the shadow guards presented by the late emperor, Qin Wanyu can occupy a pivotal position whether he establishes himself as king or kills and supports puppets. Originally, her plan was exactly like this. But because of her relationship with Suliang, all Qin Wanyu's original plans were changed. At this moment, Qin Wanyu, who was reminded by the ancestral dragon oracle and remembered her purpose again and faced the reality, fell into hesitation. On one side is his own purpose and mission, and on the other side is Suliang. What should I do? Ancestral dragon has passed down an edict to elect a new emperor. Who do you think can ascend to the throne? In a certain inn, several people sat together and discussed in low voices. If it were normal times, how could common people like them be able to discuss important matters related to the throne? Even the most courageous people would not dare to say a word. But this time when the ancestral dragon sent down the edict, he did not avoid the people. It seemed that he wanted the people to participate. Even those in the palace didn't care about anything, which made all living beings in Daxia dare to speak freely. In my opinion, the eldest princess is the most promising. One person carefully analyzed, since the late emperor left, the heavy responsibility of Daxia has been entrusted to the eldest princess. Over the past year, the eldest princess has worked hard to not only maintain the court and let the officials govern Qingming, but also to govern the entire Daxia. It's well organized and thriving. See for yourselves, the lives of our people in Great Xia are much better now than they were during the time of the late emperor. This is enough to illustrate the eldest princess' ability. Even though the eldest princess is a woman, there is no precedent for a female emperor in this world. Why can't the eldest princess ascend to the throne? If the eldest princess leads us, wouldn't this be a blessing to our country and a blessing to the people? What this man said immediately aroused a resonance among the onlookers, and everyone around them nodded in agreement. In and out of words, these people's evaluations of the eldest princess Yingkeoj were all ridiculously high. They simply crushed the second prince, the queen mother and other members of the royal family. And such scenes abound throughout Daxia, countless of them. Most people in Daxia, even some wealthy merchants and court ministers, were very optimistic about Yingkeoj and did their best to praise Yingkeoj. To them, it seems that Yingkeoj should be the emperor of Daxia. It seems that only by winning Keoj and becoming emperor can Daxia continue to move forward better. As for the Queen Mother, The Second Prince and the like, almost no one can remember them. Welcome to join the group for more novel resources. This group shares novels about Hedgehog Cat and Pineapple Bun. Provide Hedgehog Cat and Pineapple Bun extraction services to provide everyone with a better reading experience. If you need to extract subscribed novels, you can find the Management, Dimension Communication Group, 638306497, Dimension Internal Group, 370630682. The resources come from the internet and are only used for learning and communication. The copyright of the novel resources belongs to the original author. The text is only for personal study and trial. Read, please delete it within 24 hours after downloading. If you like this resource, please buy the genuine version. Thank you for your cooperation. If this resource inadvertently infringes upon your rights, please notify us to delete it promptly. Equals 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 equals. After a year of hard work, it can be said that Yingkeoj is the one who has been welcomed by the public and supported by the people. It seems that as long as she nods, she will be able to ascend to the throne of God surrounded by all the beings in Great Xia. At the same time, with the recognition of the people of Daxia, Yingkeoj's luck, exuding a faint golden light, has undoubtedly condensed into its essence, and he has transformed into a dragon. Vaguely, a golden dragon of luck hovered over Yingkeoj's body, roaring, exuding waves of powerful pressure. This scene is so powerful and shocking that even ordinary people with no cultivation can see it clearly. However, but I don't know why, this ultimate luck that transforms into a dragon is bound by invisible shackles. No matter how hard the golden dragon struggles and roars, it can't break through. In the mansion. At this moment, Suliang was practicing martial arts with Qin Binjao. Even if the master is not around at this moment, Suliang doesn't feel that he should carry out his cultivation. After all, his cultivation is his own. Suliang understands this very clearly and is very diligent. In the courtyard of the mansion, Suliang and Qin Binjao, each holding a long sword in their hands, were fighting each other. As the long swords were swung, bursts of regretless sword intent that was about to tear the world apart rose into the sky, causing those who were approaching to fight. Everyone is timid. But even so, after all, there is such a gap in cultivation. As both top geniuses, Suliang still finds it difficult to do anything to Qin Binjao without all his trump cards. After some sparring, the two of them sat aside to rest, but just then, the second simulation has begun. Please prepare the host. Hearing this, Suliang was stunned. This second simulation was really beyond his expectation. Moreover, listening to the dog system, it was not intended to ask Suliang to agree or not, but to force the simulation. What happened that caused the system to force itself to start a secondary simulation? With a helpless sigh, Suliang turned around and said to his girlfriend, "Binjao, I'm a little sleepy." "Come on, Suliang, just sleep." After hearing this, Qin Binjao immediately put her beautiful legs together, placed them sideways on the ground, patted her thighs, and said happily. Immediately. Before Suliang could react, Qin Binjao reached out and pressed her man on her lap. "Well," Suliang muttered softly. Before he could feel the softness and elasticity of his girlfriend's legs, there was just a fragrance lingering on the tip of his nose, and then darkness enveloped him and engulfed his consciousness. At the same time, in her palace, Queen Mother Qin Wanyu was thinking about what clothes she should wear to see Suliang, but she suddenly felt extremely sleepy. There was no time to think about it, so she lay on the bed instinctively, and Qin Wanyu fell into a deep sleep. However, this time, it was not just Qin Wanyu who fell into a dream. Even Yingkeoj was implicated. He covered his mouth, yawned a little, confessed to Yefei, lay down on the bed, and closed his eyes. The forced activation of the Sims actually caused the three of them to fall into a deep sleep together. For Suliang, this is the first time. One day, Overlord Suliang left the palace for a few days. When he came back, he brought back a gorgeous girl. The girl is stunningly beautiful, wearing luxurious clothes that only princesses of the dynasty are qualified to wear. Her figure is slender and perfect, with concave and convex shapes. Her proud peak can't be grasped with one hand, her belly is flat, her beautiful legs are long and slender, and her jade feet are full and small. Just standing there, the girl felt elegant and luxurious, eye-catching and heart-warming. However, at this moment, this luxurious girl looked haggard, her expression was numb, her eyes were abnormally hollow, and her face and body were stained with blood and dirt. This woman, named Zheoj, is a subjugated princess and the last royal bloodline of the Qin kingdom. The Qin dynasty was destroyed and the royal family was slaughtered. At this moment, Zheoj was at the time when his country was ruined and his family was destroyed, but he was rescued by Suliang and brought back to the palace. Waving his hand, Suliang summoned a maid, and said, "Go and find him a princess's clothes, take her to bathe and change clothes, and come see me again." The maid took the order and bowed to Suliang with an unusually respectful attitude. Her eyes when she looked at Suliang were full of reverence, and she took Zheoj to bathe and change clothes. It wasn't until the two of them disappeared completely that Suliang sat down for a few tables, picked up the fruit on the table, stuffed it into his mouth, and kept tapping on the table with his other hand. At the same time, a domineering and invincible aura that looked down on the world unconsciously emerged from him. After several years of continuous battles, Suliang's dynasty is now close to unification. It is an unprecedentedly powerful moment. At this moment, Suliang is considered by everyone in the world to be the undisputed overlord of the world, no one else. On the previous king list, those kings who were ranked with Suliang, no one knows how many are left. Volume 1 Chapter 214 The Princess of the Subjugated Country, the Empress is also a simulation target. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 230. Well, it looks pretty good. Looking at Zheoj who had been freshened up and brought to him, Suliang nodded, seemingly satisfied, but his attitude was quite indifferent. Think about it, as the overlord of the world, even though Meiji is in his arms, there are so many beautiful women in the world, but he only favors Meiji. No matter how stunning Zhao Ji was, Suliang would not have any other attitude towards her after meeting her for the first time. "Okay, you all go down." Suliang waved his hand and asked all the maids to retreat, but suddenly thought of something and asked, "Have you tidied up the pavilion I asked you to tidy up?" The maid immediately stopped and said respectfully, "If you tell your majesty, everything is packed." "Good." Suliang nodded, threw the fruit in his hand on the table, stood up, walked forward by himself, and said to Zheoj, "Come with me, since you are here, I'll arrange a place for you." Immediately, he walked straight out regardless of whether Zhao Ji followed him. This is the overlord. What he said, even if it was just one word, even if it was said inadvertently, it was an order and an imperial edict. In this world, no one dares to disobey, and no one is willing to disobey Suliang's words, even if that person is the leader of a country. And when passing by the maid, Suliang warned, "From now on, all affairs in Zheoj Palace will be on par with Meiji's. No more, but absolutely no less. Go ahead and ask someone to prepare it. Go ahead." After that, he walked straight out of the palace. In a jade tower, golden pavilion, Guidian Orchid Palace, Kyan Tower, and Jade Yu, Suliang walked in with Zhao Ji, pointed to the breathtaking scenery in the palace, and said, "This will be your place from now on. Everyday life is here. I will send people to prepare everything you need." Turning his head and looking at Zheoj, Suliang said calmly but seriously. If you need anything, you can tell me directly. As long as I can do it, I will naturally grant it to you. However, faced with Suliang's kindness, Zhao Ji remained silent. His expression, which was already numb with pain, did not waver, but the look in his eyes when he looked at Suliang was extremely fierce. I saw. Zhao's slender jade hand hidden behind her back moved slightly, and an extremely sharp divine weapon dagger was hidden in her sleeve with her backhand, as if she could slash it out at any time. Suliang chuckled lightly, and easily noticed Zhao's actions. He walked behind Zhao, and with a slight movement of his fingers, the dagger was in his hand without even Zhao noticing. Playing with this peerless magical blade, Suliang said with admiration, it is worthy of being a treasure handed down from generation to generation of the Qin kingdom. Just these few inches of green blade are more powerful than any other weapons in the world. It is indeed worth passing down from generation to generation. Why, are you planning to use this dagger to kill me? As he said that, Suliang took Zhao's hand and put the dagger into her hand again. It's useless, don't waste your efforts. There is a huge gap between your cultivation and mine. Even if I stand still and let you cut it off, you can't even do anything to me. You'd better keep this thing, it's just a little thought of yours. Snort. Zhao snorted coldly, but did not appreciate Suliang's affection at all. He held the dagger tightly with both hands and cursed through gritted teeth, "Murderer, you are the murderer of my Qin kingdom. Since you have destroyed our Qin kingdom and killed everyone in my royal family, why did you leave me alone? I don't need your hypocrisy, get out." Looking up at Zhao, Suliang shook his head and denied it very frankly, "I didn't do anything about your Qin country, and you don't need to doubt it. The things I haven't done, I just haven't done. It's just a Qin country, I've destroyed countless dynasties, so I won't panic like this." However, faced with Suliang's denial, Zhao bit his red lips with his teeth and blood flowed out from the bite. He still didn't believe it and refuted loudly, "You lied. I clearly saw it with my own eyes. Do you think your lies deceive me?" Looking at Zhao expressionlessly, at this moment, Suliang felt that this girl was so stupid. He shook his head and said, "If someone deliberately wants to put the blame on me, there are many ways. In addition to imitating my body shape and breath, they can make you fall into an illusion and make you see what they want you to see. I have reached an agreement with your father a long time ago, so I won't do this." However, regarding Suliang's explanation, Zhao still stared at Suliang with red eyes of hatred, still not believing Suliang's explanation. Seeing this, Suliang was too lazy to say anything more, and just said, "You can stay in peace and come to me if you need anything." After that, he turned around and left. She had just returned to her dormitory, and before Suliang could sit down, Meiji responded and took Suliang's hand with an even more eager attitude than before. She leaned against Suliang's body softly and charmingly. Smiling, "Your Majesty, you have been out for many days. You are tired. Come and have a rest. I have warmed up the wine and am waiting for your Majesty's return." Suliang didn't notice anything at all. He followed Meiji to the recliner in the palace that was big enough for the two of them to play around. He was held down by Meiji and lay on Meiji's lap. Her soft and boneless jade hands gently pressed the sides of Suliang's forehead. Meiji looked at Suliang and pursed her red lips, "The king has not been back for many days. Do you want to be with me?" After saying that, Meiji leaned down and kissed Suliang gently on the lips. "Your Majesty, Meiji misses your Majesty very much." Opening his eyes, Suliang looked at Meiji with some confusion. "Why do you think you are so proactive today? What, are you thinking too much?" After shaking her head and hesitating for a moment, Meiji said, "I heard that the king brought a younger sister back today." "I see." Suliang shook his head and laughed, "Is my Meiji competing with that girl Zhao for favor?" Shaking his head, Suliang said, You don't need to compete with her for favor. Originally, for Suliang, Zheoj was brought back for protection because he promised the Emperor of Qin, but Meiji was his true love. However, Suliang's words were misunderstood by Meiji. Meiji's expression changed slightly, and Meiji's movements stopped for a moment. Your Majesty said there is no need to compete with her for favor. Does that mean that compared to her, I have no room to compete? For a moment, this terrible guess made her feel sad and a little dazed. And when Suliang left, Meiji came to the mirror and looked at herself in the mirror. She has bright eyes and white teeth, and a stunning face with an irresistible charm. Her proud height is far beyond ordinary people's size and erectness, with a flat belly, slender waist, round and jade-like parts behind her, and slender and plump legs. At this moment, she is ripe and the most suitable time to keep picking. However, seeing herself like this, Meiji gently stroked her cheek and sighed, feeling a little disappointed. Could it be that I am really old? Compared with Sister Zheoj, it seems that she is indeed not too young. Volume 1 Chapter 215 The system doesn't want me to be a human anymore, the Empress 9000 hatred. One day, it rained heavily and there was lightning and thunder. Suliang stood outside the palace door, looked at it for a moment, and then ordered, "Go and send someone to get some thicker quilts for Zheoj. The heavy rain is pouring and Zheoj will not be able to bear it. It is inevitable that he will catch a cold and get sick." Yes. The maid took the order and walked out of the palace quickly. A few days later, when the sun was scorching, Suliang also stood outside the palace door and said, "Send some people to the ice cellar to bring some to Zhao Ji, and then ask the imperial kitchen to make some ice drinks to dispel the heat. Send it to the child as well, the weather is a bit too hot, so she should be made more comfortable." Yes. The maid took the order again, took some people, divided into two groups, walked into the ice cellar, and went straight to the royal kitchen to order some iced drinks. After bringing Zheoj back to the palace, Suliang showed great concern for Zheoj. He did not let go of any trivial matter and took care of everything for Zheoj. And all of this was seen by Meiji. Once again, seeing Suliang caring about Zheoj and sending something to Zheoj, Meiji looked at it all and bit her lower lip lightly. She found that the king's caring and considerate care for his new favorite Zheoj was unprecedented. Sometimes, even more than her. All this made Meiji even more sad. Could it be that the king really has a new favorite? The screen shattered, and after a period of darkness, Suliang slowly opened his eyes, sat up, rubbed his brow, and recalled everything in the previous Sim's life. It was only at this moment that Suliang vaguely understood what was going on with the Samsung assessment task that the system issued to him last time. Is love a single-choice question or a multiple-choice question? This is clearly asking yourself, do you want one or both? Originally, one after each simulation was enough to make Suliang feel that Cao was a thief, but this time it was doubled. Cao had robbed the protagonist and wanted the binding object, and then Cao had robbed the binding object and wanted the protagonist. It was simply called How Many Thieves Are There? Especially the complicated relationship between Ying Caoj, Qin Wanyu, and his girlfriend. Ying Caoj is his girlfriend's cousin, and the Queen Mother is Ying Caoj's mother, so his girlfriend can also be called aunt. This is obviously to take it all by yourself. Can this dog system still work? Isn't this going to kill me? The elders and juniors take all, but am I still an individual? People can't, at least they shouldn't, right? But if you think about it carefully, the relationship between your sister and your master, and their aunt and niece, isn't this also a one-size-fits-all relationship? If you add your own girlfriend, this is the third generation. No wonder this dog system is so familiar. It turns out that this is not the first time it has done this kind of thing. But at this moment, the system's voice suddenly appeared. The 3-star assessment task has started. The task requirement, get the Queen Mother. Who can refuse a queen mother who has a mother-in-law who cares about the world? If you can, then I will reward you for being a traitor. After hearing this, Suliang was completely speechless. Haha, the last mission also allowed me to choose one or two, and which one I wanted. But now, I was directly assigned to take care of the queen mother. In other words, you have no choice at all? Alas, I didn't want to be involved with the queen mother, but no matter how hard the system forced me to do it, I couldn't do anything about it. Well done to you, dog system. In the queen mother's palace. Slowly opening his eyes and sitting up from the bed, the scene in the dream came to mind bit by bit. Especially the woman named Zhao Ji, she felt particularly impressed. Humph, if you steal my king, you will be my lifelong enemy. The clips of the overlord doting, and thinking, caring for the woman named Zhaoj, and the scenes of him unconsciously competing for favor, all echoed in Qin Huanyu's mind, and Qin Huanyu clenched her teeth unconsciously. Zhaoj must have been my opponent in the previous life. But for some reason, Qin Huanyu always felt that the woman named Zhaoj looked a bit like Yang Kaoj. Not only their faces, but also their temperaments, personalities, even every move and way of speaking are very similar. Before, Qin Huanyu didn't take Yang Kaoj's aggressiveness and intimacy with Suliang seriously. She only felt that her so-called daughter had changed. But now it seems. It made her feel in crisis again. Just when Suliang and Qin Huanyu both woke up, Yang Kaoj was still in a dream. Hot summer day. Looking at the thick ice cubes brought into his room, the temperature of the room dropped rapidly and became cool and suitable. A bowl of exquisite and delicious ice drink was placed in front of him. He looked very appetizing, but Zhaoj remained silent. Down. That day, the army broke through the city and the people fled in panic. Suliang entered the palace alone, with a cold and terrifying look on his face, and full of murderous intent.